We did.
I broke their ass.
It's true.
I like fighting number two.
Like fighting number two. What could possibly?
The past wasn't that long ago.
I agree, but it feels like we were all just here. 3, 2, 1. Turn that thing into the thing into that thing into. Hey! And it's on. All right, excellent. And the sounds, okay. The meters are running. Meters are fine. You're fine. I'm fine. How's that? Okay, that part's good. Is there? Think everybody's firing on all cylinders? I gotta be completely honest, man. I'm a bit lost. Don't worry. I'll get it together. Don't worry about it at all. It's gonna be all right. I was under the hood of this thing for like 2 hours figuring out that stuff yesterday. It should be purring like a kitten right now. Good. All right. Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully that will be the case. Ficus is our new engineer. He while I'm tending to the family and cooking meals and the like, he spends a good deal of time under the desk. I do what now? What? Don't even start, man. This is a job, not a career. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That was my fault. You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, so welcome to the show, everybody. Hi, chat room. Thanks for joining me. Hop in here, everybody. So much to go on, and you heard the Trump tape, didn't you? Not just me playing it. Everybody playing it. And that's as Jackie Chan once said. As Jackie Chan once said, I think it was in Super Cop. He said, and that's just for starters, which is one of my favorite lines of his. And the truth is, hold on one second. Let me do this right here. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. It's hard to keep even track. Let's say, somebody just sent me a link in the chat room. Somebody was this New York Post warning: graphic content. Why? Because it's going to be nudes of Hunter Biden or whatever. I don't care. The release of, by the way, I read the entire transcript of this alleged whistleblower. It does no such thing. But, okay. The revelations also tie Joe Biden far closer to Hunter's sleaze. No, it doesn't. It's astonishing that Garland let the Hunter plea offer proceed this week when he had known how House Republicans were sitting on this dynamite. It's not dynamite at all. It was a fart in a bag. For starters, Ways and Means, Jason Smith told reporters that the prosecutor officially in charge of the case, David Weiss, wanted to charge Hunter last year in the First District of Columbia and then in California, but was denied both times. That's because he wanted to use stuff from the laptop, which they could not verify. And they were afraid the whole case would get thrown out. So if he had had his way, if you read the testimony, Hunter Biden wouldn't have even had to do a plea deal. That's how stupid these people are. All right, anyways, that directly contradicts Garland's sworn testimony. No, it doesn't. And by the way, he says, according to their beliefs, he thinks that contradicts Garland's testimony. It doesn't. And again, there's a lot of opinion in this shit. Smith also says Biden's Justice Department repeatedly turned down Weiss's request for special counsel status, which would have allowed him to charge and investigate as he saw fit without political interference, because he was a political hitman for this, I suppose. But the rot at justice preceded the Biden presidency. The whistleblowers, who have no apparent motive to lie about anything, sure they do. They're Trumpies, and they think the Bidens are Marxist moles. Indeed, risk their careers by coming forward. No, they didn't. They get whistleblower protection in coming forward. Alleged multiple incidents in 2020 when prosecutors outright squashed parts of the investigation. Only the parts that relied on evidence that didn't stand up. Per whistleblower Gary Shapley, right? His is the list of the timeline of the laptop you've been seeing lately, which is his recollection of what he thinks the timeline is. Yeah. Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf told us there's more than enough probable cause for a physical search warrant for Joe Biden's guest house where Hunter often stayed in September 2020, but Wolf refused to go for it, arguing it wasn't worth the political price. Yes, it would. The phrase they used was the squeeze wasn't worth the juice, and largely because these guys thought they wanted They wanted sprawl on this. They wanted to go, whitewater to blowjob with this, and they're like, no. Wolf is in December 2020, even quashed an IRS warrant. I wonder who was president then? I forget. Anyways, an IRS warrant to search Hunter's own North Virginia storage unit. He agreed to okay it if the unit went untouched for a month, but immediately reached out to Hunter Biden's defense counsel and told him about the storage unit because they had to give him an offer to actually allow it to be searched. And anyways, higher ups also sabotaged investor efforts. This is in line with everything that happens in every kind of case like this, or Trump would have already been in jail a long time ago. Another whistleblower says the information then AG Barr now says he was never made it to the IRS team. I don't know what that's in reference to. It went to the Delaware. Fairly sure it was the AG, not the IRS team in Delaware, but whatever. Again, this is the Durham shit. This is where Durham's like, they should have done it this way, but they did it this way, and I didn't like it, so therefore corruption. Heck, the investigators didn't even get access to Hunter's laptop through the FBI, though the FBI got and verified it in 2019. No, they didn't. They absolutely did not verify contents. They had a copy. The problem was, while they didn't believe at that point there was any reason to believe that anything had been added to the hard drive, they couldn't verify it, and they had none of the metadata, and it had been reduped too many times. And they were afraid if they used any of it as a predicate, it would all get thrown out, which is true. That's right. A year before the Post was falsely accused of publishing Russian disinformation. I'm still accusing you guys of that. Add to this Hunter's July 2017 WhatsApp message to a Chinese client that the investigators uncovered in mid-2020. But we're never allowed to follow up on it. This is the I'm sitting with my father shit. We covered that already. And was Joe sitting next to him at the moment? No. Then there was crack RS team identified 8.3 million in unreported Hunter income. If the plea deal mentions less than half that amount because the other half didn't exist. Without any question, the House is going to need a lot more sworn testimony from Weiss, Wolf, Garland, and many more to even begin to get the bottom of it. Go for it. In the meantime, Gavin Newsom and other top Democrats should amp up preparations to jump into the 2024 race. Nope. That it won't be necessary. But anyways, that was sent to us by someone in the chat room who thinks that's a winner. We've covered most of that stuff before, and no doubt we will again. But most of this, if you'll recall, there's a lot of noise about this right now. Now, keep in mind, the millions and millions that they're talking about don't materially exist anywhere that anybody's been able to find, even with their suspicious account reports and all that kind of stuff that they've been talking about. You know what does exist? You know what really does exist? You know what's easily spotted what really does exist? I'll show you. Hold on. Because lots of people are talking about it, including, where is it? Where are you? This, where are we? It's going to be over here. No? This one? Yes. What does exist is an audio recording of Donald Trump admitting that he had classified military plans that were not declassified. He was aware they were not declassified. He knew he didn't have the power to declassify them. He knew that they weren't magically declassified just because he took them with him. He admits to that on tape. And they're referring to specific documents that were in a folder that no longer exists. And it's largely because his defense team was aware that this tape exists. So what you're seeing about the Hunter Biden stuff, because the ultimate problem they have on the Hunter Biden side is the lack of the quo. The quid would be the idea that they've given you a couple of some scratch. So you quid pro quo me. You send me some money, and I'll quo you up a treat. And the problem is they can't find a quo in there anywhere because we're basically putting a big wet foot down on China. That the people who were running Ukraine at the time, by the way, that if the idea is that we're only supporting Ukraine because of stuff he did back closer to 2014, there's different people running and they have different motives and they're in a different circumstance. So it doesn't make sense. And also the prosecutor that got kicked to the curb was by order of the White House and the Congress and the IMF and the EU. Everybody was on board with getting rid of this fucker because he wasn't pursuing corruption, not because he was. Anyway, so hence the entire conversation dies with two words. Call him. Go, anybody who wants to, any of the maggots, go listen to the recording, the clandestine recording of Joe Biden talking about the prosecutor being fired while he's on stage at I think he's just given a speech. He's doing a round table at the Council on Foreign Relations in front of a giant crowd, like 300 people or something there. So I love how these assholes think it's a hot mic. Meanwhile, Trump does have a hot mic situation. And the weird part is, and this is going to be a question for the maggots that are in here. You guys, we have some trolls in here, and I wish maybe you guys can answer this. You still haven't answered the adrenochrome question. I'm racking my brain. If it keeps you young, why does everybody they allege is taking it look like shit? That's the big one. Answer that for me, and we'll finish the rest of your Roseanne conversation. But the part that I don't understand is that if he had the right to declassify stuff, and he's allowed to declassify any stuff he wants, why does he say, I could have declassified it when I was president, I can't now, we're going to have to see if, and his assistant or whoever the hell is there goes, if we can declassify it, meaning what? Ask Biden? What's he talking about? Explain what he's talking about there, because I'm not sure he knows. So, I mean, you guys got to rush in there and clean his nappy for him again. All right, now, this is Megyn Kelly, and she's on a panel with a bunch of dudes who are fans of Ruth Buzzy, but she couldn't be there to that day or something. Anyway, she's on the Ruthless podcast, and she says, why revealed, this is her kind of copping to some reality here. Why revealed audio of Donald Trump hurts his documents defense. Because I don't want to, spoiler alert, but because it destroys it entirely, because he doesn't have one and he admits to not having one. I think something like that with the Ruthless podcast host. Let's see what she says and see how close we all come to if we agree with her. Could be a broken clock moment for all of us. I
got a copy of is terrible for Donald Trump.
Okay, the CNN
recording that CNN got a copy of is terrible for Donald Trump's.
All right, well then that's it. That's I guess that answers it.
Legal chances. That's my take. It's terrible. Trump went on Bret Baier last week, and I believe mischaracterized it.
That's a sweet way of saying it. He lied his dumb ass off. He lied so. He made such an ass of himself.
I broke their ass.
That's right. He lied his ass off so much that it broke.
But we're going to play it for the audience and get you guys to weigh in and let the audience decide for themselves.
Yes, decide for yourself just how innocent he is. Because here's the thing. He's an outsider. He doesn't know how the presidency works. 4 years after doing the job. Like he's literally, all right.
He should
Hug Steely Dan.
Should not have gone on Bret Baier and talked about the document. Before we saw the document, we only had a partial transcript of the tape. I said, we don't know whether Trump actually had the document. It could have been full of bluster. He could have been waving around, his...
Oh, no. He made you look like an asshole? Do tell.
The morning sports scores saying, look at this. I've got something that contradicts Mark Milley calling me a warmonger. I've got a document that proves he was the warmonger.
By the way, the president asked for the attack plans on Iran. What do we do if we're going to attack Iran? And they brought it to him because he requested it. The Pentagon doesn't just magically draft up attack plans for Iran. Like, Trump's not the first person to think this shit up. Neither is Mark Milley. So the idea that they were like, wait a minute, an attack plan to fight Iran? Jesus Christ, why didn't I think of that? We should have, guys, get to scribbling.
He was submitting plans to me to attack Iran, not the other way around. Could have been absolutely nothing in his hand. Well, he kind of tried to go with that defense on Bret Baier, but the full audio tape, I think, puts the lie to what he said. Let's first play for the audience exactly what he tried to say to Bret in diminishing what it was bullshit. He waved around some meeting involving Mark Meadows' book that Trump attended. A couple of members.
It wasn't a meeting. They were taping Mark Meadows as he walked around and had been talking to Trump and blah, blah. Or they were going to interview Trump for Mark Meadows' book to get him on tape. So he knew he was being taped. So he's just stupid. He's just I think it all boils down to this very simple fact that he's a liar and he's stupid. And that's a rough combination in a hero, maggots. That's a rough one. Get both of those together. Oof.
The press attended and some Trump aides attended that has now become such an issue for him.
Ready? You were recording.
You ready? Here it comes. This is my bullshit. Get ready. Here we come. Hello, bullshit.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know.
When I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. When I'm not president, I can't declassify. Brett, there was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a...
It may have been held up or not, meaning I may have held up a classified document or something, but it was in a pile of shit about a lot of things, most of it classified. Like, he's just, you'd think after all these years of fucking around on all of his wives, on just being like braggadociously full of shit all this time, you'd think he'd be better at lying. Right? Maybe it's maybe it's like a wrestler or a football player or whatever, like you're being a pitcher, like he threw out his lion arm and now he's getting too slow in his old age and his 96 mile an hour bullshit ball just does not go like it used to. And, his slider's gone, all of it.
Document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to...
Per se. Per se. I didn't have a document per se. I mean, it was in a pile of stuff. It was tons of classifieds. It was a giant pile. We were in that theater with the boxes on the stage. I was just rifling through them. Look what's in here. Oh, look at that. That's classified. Look at that. I don't even know this shit. Look what I just found. Isn't that funny? Look at this. This is how we're going to attack Iran. This is our retaliation plan in case they attack Israel. That won't get any Israelis or Americans killed. I mean, obviously, should we? No? Right.
Declassified. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles. I don't think I've ever seen a document from Milley.
Oh my God. I don't think. Well, then how would it prove your case, stupid? Oh God. Like I said, at this point, how do you not know how to lie better? Jesus.
Very clear defense. It was not, I was basically saying I was bullshitting people. I didn't actually have it. I had just newspapers. That's all I was waving around. Well, maybe this was bullshit. Like maybe what you're about to hear was him bullshitting.
Yeah, except for all those empty classified folders and then the classified folders that had classified documents in them that had to be returned in a red-weld envelope. Again, I filed a Freedom of Information Act. I'm still waiting on a reply. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request for all documents marked classified that were at Mar-a-Lago after the date of January 21st, 2021. Because if Trump magically was able to declassify things, just by taking them with him, if there's any legal justification for that at all, then I should be able to have copies of all of it sent to my house on a fucking pallet or whatever. And I didn't ask for all the documents, I want copies of all the documents. I just want copies of the ones that are marked classified or any semblance of classified. Because if Trump declassified them just by walking them out the door, they are for public consumption now. Right? He didn't lower the classification. He didn't drop it down from top secret to secret and secret to classified and classified to lay that wherever you want to, did he?
Let's let the audience decide. Here is the full 2-minute tape of Trump with that alleged document.
Bad, sick people.
They're so sick, these bad, sick people.
That was your cue.
And look at the staffer that they have. I don't know which one that is, but I think she's the one that was helping shuffle the boxes around. But the weird thing is like listen how that the shocking thing is most people listen to what Trump has said in this, but listen to the sycophants around him. Listen to like how you're expected to talk to him as an employee.
You know, against you.
Well, it started right at the
like
beginning.
when Milley's talking about, oh, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well,
Unidentified speaker. First of all, you know who the writers were for the book. You know Trump was there. You know Milley was there. Or, I mean, sorry, Meadows was there, in theory. Except maybe he stepped out of the room and he was like, fuck, I can't be here when this shit goes down. Maybe he bugged out right about the time Trump started criming, because I don't think he's on the rest of this. Who the fuck is that? Well, let's just stop for a second. Like, we've heard this tape, but that doesn't strike anybody as fucking lunacy? This asshole is waving around classified documents. He's aware they're classified. He's aware he has no right to have them. And then it says, thank you for becoming a member. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, by the way, because who else goes through all this stuff as thoroughly? You're welcome. That doesn't bother anybody? That part. Who the fuck is that? Who is it? Anna de Rothschild? I'm just going to assume it's Anna de Rothschild at this point. Anna de Rothschild is the unidentified speaker. Prove me wrong.
with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran.
Listen to him. I mean, tell me, does that sound like folders to you? Listen. Hold on, let me jump in here.
That
Hear that? That sounds like, you ever handle file folders? Listen to this.
let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran.
Just saying, that doesn't sound like, that does not sound like newspaper or magazines to me. Right?
Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look.
This thing just came up. I have so many classified documents here. You can't even touch one of these folders without showing something to people they're not supposed to see.
This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him.
Okay, first of all, again, the Defense Department has plans for retaliation and attack on fucking everybody. It's their job. They're hammers. They need to know how to deal with every nail that exists. That's how it works. That's how the Pentagon works all the fucking time. As a matter of fact, we prepare battle plans for our allies. We go, hey guys, just in case, you might want to, just because we know that this is going to happen, so you might want to, in case this is what they're going to do, and then this is what you'd have to do to get past what that does. So here you go. You're welcome.
Wow. We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here.
And then the unidentified speaker, Anna de Rothschild, is sitting there and goes, oh my God, classified documents. That's so funny because that's what I came in here to see.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know.
By the way, he didn't have a case at that point. There was no case. He's got cases now. This is part of his fucking case. This point, it was just a pissing match between Milley's, appraisal of him as a president and his own opinion of himself. He's such a defensive wuss that he needed classified documents and to show them to fucking strangers to reassure them that he's not a murderous lunatic because when he was president, he toyed with the idea of being a murderous lunatic, and people stood between him and that process.
Mm-hmm. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. You attack, and
Hillary.
By the way, that it looks like you attack Aunt Hillary would print that out and put it later. That ... That means they edited it. He says what's in the fucking... All right. This is not the complete recording of that moment. Let's just be abundantly clear. I don't know anybody, like, even Megyn Kelly's not pointing out that that's the case. Those ... there, and there, right? That stuff they edited out because he drifts into talking about classified stuff. He explains it. That's what those dots are. Good Lord. Thank you so much. Yay. Thanks for becoming a member. Yay. All right.
You would print that out all the time, you know.
She'd send it, no,
email.
she'd send it to Anthony Weiner,
Yeah.
the pervert.
Please print.
By the
The pervert. Says the dude in a room full of women who bragged about grabbing women by the... Oh, God. Yeah, he's the pervert. Do we need to look at the gif of you dancing with Epstein again, asshole?
way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it. And, you know, he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the
You did.
papers.
It's pretty
This was done by the military, given to me.
See, he goes, they want to attack Iran. And there's something they removed. They took a piece of it out.
Oh, God.
I think we can.
By the way, that's Megyn Kelly laughing about it. It's the other people. The mics are up in the other thing. There's not another unidentified woman.
Probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify.
figure out
it.
yeah.
See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, you know, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
now, yeah.
They all saw it. They've all these idiots, including the quote unquote unidentified person, they've all been interviewed. He's a moron. He's an absolute moron. Everybody there that he showed it to they've talked to them. They've all been asked about this conversation. They've all been asked about what they said. Hold on, somebody said he what? He absolutely cannot declassify any of this stuff, and he's aware of it. This is the important part of this recording, more than anything else, is that he's aware that he is committing a crime. He is aware that this is wrong and that he's not supposed to do it, and he's not supposed to show it to these people. And the people who are there are aware that they are not supposed to see this.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so. Look, we here I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring
they
some
never had
cokes in,
afforded
please.
I mean,
Yeah, it's not holding up well. Again, he describes what's in the document on the full recording. They cut it out because they can't have it drifting around because it's literally redacted for national security purposes. Like, he describes the plan that's in the documents in front of him. The judge and to some degree the jury or the attorneys will more than likely, his attorneys have to get security clearance that he doesn't have, by the way. He and Walt Nada can look at this stuff under supervision. They can't discuss it with anybody and they can't take any notes. So they get to go in a skiff temporarily and look at stuff, but he's already seen this shit. This is already happening. But his attorneys and the state's attorneys, like Jack Smith's attorneys, the prosecutors, and the judge will all get to look at this stuff, and they will write something in because the jury won't be able to see the fucking attack plan to Iran. They're not going to give security clearance in a case like this to 12 jurors and you know, I'm sorry, juror number 12, you're excused to go do interviews with the press. That's never going to happen. So all of them, like, they will put this in. Britain is wrote, we have the attorneys for the defense and the prosecution and the judge will sit in chambers, and with another party, wherever they'll, in viewing the stuff, they will give that this is the document in question. Yes. Is it confidential? Is it secret or is it top secret? Yes. And then they will say, from this point to this point, the defense and the prosecution will argue, will be operating on the idea to the jury that all of this, the part you can't see, just understand that's actually classified at top secret. We can tell you that. We can't tell you what's in it, but we can tell you that that is the case. That's how it's going to work.
I was waving around a newspaper article is not going to cut it. He says this was done by the military and given to me. These are the papers. It's highly confidential. This is secret information. In the newspaper, it's not going to work. They got him. They got him on this particular issue. He should not have given that interview to Bret Baier in that way. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, where do you start?
Prison? I just start with prison. I mean, just send him straight to prison. Get on with your fucking life. Pick another Republican leader. You can find some other rich douchebag to run your party. Jump at it.
The Cokes was a nice touch, I guess. He was trying to provide refreshment for the assembled.
He wanted one. He just got him for everybody else because he assumed that's what they'd want. He's at a fucking country club and he asks for Cokes for everyone. What? I'm sorry, were they at the kids' table? Cokes. Cokes, really? Yeah.
No, look, I'm not a lawyer.
Oh, come on.
But it strikes me that when you have audio of your client talking about the inadvisability of sharing the documents that he is sharing on audio, that's not a great start.
Right.
The Bret Baier thing is a total mystery to me, and Bret did a great interview, as he always does, but I can't imagine any.
What's the mystery? Trump is a delicate, weak man with pathological low self-esteem that he presents to the world as narcissistic overreach, chicken feathers in the world, fluffing himself up. That's because he can't stand for people to know anything about him, know how weak he knows he is. That's it. That's why he did the interview with Bret Baier. He can't stop himself. Seriously, any other politician in that situation wouldn't have done the interview with Bret Baier. They would have done it with Hannity. They would have done it with somebody else.
But being put in a situation where they have a federal indictment against them and they're just sort of like winging it on air.
This is his freedom.
You just don't talk about it.
He's risking his freedom. Why is he?
Because he's stupid. Because he is a stupid person. What if Coke is code for Coke? Yes, that's all it is.
Doing that. It was absolutely foolhardy to speak of. Even Trump should be able to say, obviously, I can't speak about that because these guys are trying to put me in jail. That would have been a totally acceptable answer that did not show any weakness. It would have shown a rational assessment of what the risks are to him in this.
Yeah, but then he has to be a rational person to think that. And I think that would be the biggest hole in your theory of how he could have avoided this
Prosecution. That was an insane thing to do, especially given that there does appear to be a specific document. Now, they haven't found the document. They haven't found the document.
They have a copy of it. Let me explain something to you. They don't have to show the document that he had, that he destroyed, or he still has at Bedminster hidden somewhere. Oh, no. They don't. They have a copy of it, and they have a copy of the day it was shown to him and what it contains. And that little part that they took out of this, which contains part of the plan that he explained to these writers, that part is in that document, and they will go, see this part? This is the part he was reading. This isn't in any newspaper. This little bit right here, that never showed up in print anywhere. The defense knows of it. They're welcome to scour the internet for this little blurb that he basically read out loud in front of people. And this is the actual document. We don't know where his copy is because we have record of it going into the Oval Office. We have no record of it coming out. Fuck, he's dumb.
Wasn't found in those Mar-a-Lago boxes, but they.
They're gonna be Bedminster. Also, wasn't Ivana cremated? I'm just saying. Seemed like a heavy box. What do you think? Gold? We think it had some gold from Fort Knox. You had Manchin bring some, what's his name? Bring some of it back from Fort Knox.
Never searched Bedminster. And if you read the indictment, it says Trump wound up taking a bunch of these documents to Bedminster, his golf club up in New Jersey.
You know, the ones where the Saudis just visited and stayed. That's okay? That's okay, maggots? You're fine with that part. Sorry, Mnuchin. Yeah, did I say Manchin? Mnuchin. Yeah, thank you.
And they decided, for whatever reason, maybe because of PR and so on, not to raid Bedminster. So honestly, that document could be sitting there right now. I have no idea, but it certainly sounds like Trump had it in his hand.
Oh, he took some of the boxes to Trump Tower as well. His attorneys, they looked. You don't need to come look. We did a look. We didn't find anything else. Now, I know what you're thinking. His attorneys also said that about Mar-a-Lago, and that turned out to be a lie. They signed papers saying we looked and there's nothing here, and that turned out to be BS. And that was between the subpoena and after those boxes were taken to Bedminster.
And that day, and understood, as he said, it was secret, it was highly confidential, it had not been declassified. That's not even the issue at this point, the classification. It's just whether it relates to national defense. And more importantly,
yeah, it is, though. It's because his awareness that he could not declassify this stuff it totally proves the lie of every other document there. That he has no illusions that he magically declassified stuff just by walking it out of the Oval Office, which is ignorant, ridiculous nonsense. Who in the world thinks that's a good idea? Who? I mean, if you want to crawl up Biden's ass for having boxes in his garage, he had the same declassification powers that Obama had. And if Trump's saying, without writing any legislation, without signing an executive order that gives him special fucking powers, he didn't do any of that stuff. There's no EO anywhere in that Trump signed that anybody has ever shown, including Trump himself, that says, I give myself the power to magically declassify stuff, and it's declassified anytime I carry it with me. That's that. It doesn't exist. So if he thinks it comes with the powers of the presidency, then Obama had it as well. Well, Obama gave Joe Biden the equal power about declassification that he had. So if Trump's making the case that he can magically declassify stuff, then so did Joe Biden he had that power as well. So honestly, at this point, the only defense Trump has is to defend Joe Biden.
specifically says in here that the military gave it to him. The military did it and give it to him and recognized that it would have been inappropriate to share unless it was declassified, which it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, going back to the preface of your thoughts on this charge and the advisability of whether or not they should have prosecuted this at all, I have a little bit of different take than you, Meg. I think it's possible to be deeply concerned about two systems of justice here. I think
yes, we have two systems of justice because Reality Winner would have been under the jail at this point already. Anybody else in this situation would have had to given up their passport. They would have been under house arrest or in fucking jail awaiting trial the entire time. They would have been known to be a flight risk on all fronts. Trump is getting special treatment. Treatment he does not deserve. Do we have a two-tier justice system? Yes. Putting him in jail would end that.
It's possible to be deeply concerned about where these leaks are coming in the course of a prosecution of one political party versus another political party.
Okay, it's not two political parties. It's Donald Trump against the law. Secondly, does anybody notice how these recordings have come out after his legal team has gotten access to them, not before? Oi.
Without defending what is a pretty serious underlying charge. And
that's how I feel.
Yeah, and again, because it's indefensible. Stop. You can't talk about a two-tier justice system and say, never mind the fact that he's guilty. Let's talk about the system. Okay, no. If you want to talk about a two-tier justice system, then talk about Use an actual example of someone who is innocent, who's being railroaded, or someone who is very guilty and got away with it. Not somebody you suspect, not somebody you think, not somebody who hasn't been charged, somebody who actually, on a technicality, managed to fuck off.
Where do we disagree?
Because I think whether or not you bring a charge against Trump, I think you have to, if you believe this to be true, and this audio suggests that it very well could be.
It suggests it. You know who suggests it in the audio? Donald John Trump.
I think the government has no choice to bring a charge. I think they should have brought a charge against Hillary Clinton as well. I think anybody
but they didn't.
who has
But they didn't. That's got to play
documents,
No, it doesn't. You know why? Because there was no material in the wind. The existence of the server and digital copies of things that you allege exist in this server, which we never saw any proof that there was. There were things that maybe should have been classified or whatever. They were lightly mishandled, but none of them were like war plans or any like top secret or human intel stuff. There was none of that in there. And none of the emails, by the way, all the emails were back and forth between her and state, her and other people in the administration. There are copies of all of it. No 30,000 emails vanished. Emails don't vanish. That's why Trump doesn't use them. That's why I like shit on paper. Secondly, she didn't try to hoard them after the fact. The job afterwards is, you want to make sure this stuff doesn't get in the wind? Destroy all the devices. Then they could look at all the stuff, but none of this stuff is going to end up in a dumpster or end up copied or anywhere else. And when they leave the State Department, that's what they do. Agents do that. It's normal. But the idea was, this is paper. Copies of real, like genuine intelligence in the fucking wind at a rental property where members of the club and non-members can rent the place out anytime they want to. Nobody, like, at no point did anybody get to rent out Hillary Clinton's server. And again, the materials themselves that were alleged to be on Hillary Clinton's server, the 30,000 emails and the other stuff, the charge was that they were looser than they should be about some classified stuff. None of it was top secret. None of it was human intel. None of it gave away national secrets. None of it was about our nuclear program or about our allies' nuclear program. And none of it was stuff that they hoarded. There's a huge difference between setting a bunch of shit on fire and it no longer exists and trying to sneak it out in a briefcase. That's the difference.
But Holmes, they didn't bring the charge against Hillary Clinton. And I realize it's not Comey still at the FBI. It's a different attorney general, but that it doesn't matter. Like it's the office's priors that matter, not yours specifically as Merrick Garland.
Yeah, but I think there are two separate tracks of what you've got to do here.
Yeah, if you want to defend this, you have to operate in two different realities. Well, on the one hand, he's guilty as fuck. But on the other hand, I hate that woman.
I think almost every Republican presidential candidate has suggested that amongst the first things they do is rework the whole FBI, rework the entire Department of Justice.
Why? So that they wouldn't catch people doing exactly this? Because again, if the argument was that he was innocent and that they found out that they had planted this stuff or they had made a deep fake recording of him or he didn't admit to what he said, he knows full well what he said. He admits in the Brett Baier interview that he was there present when he was talking to those people. This is not a made up conversation. They didn't edit this shit together at all. He's guilty. That in and of itself should matter. But then again, these are folks that, quote, back the blue until they're, Capitol police officer getting, overrun by MAGA hats.
To make sure that we actually have a justice system again and not one that benefits the political party, one political party in particular.
Why would it benefit them in this situation? Because they have evidence that the former leader of the other party engaged in criminal espionage. They're not torturing Republicans in fucking Guantanamo. It's him. What I don't understand is, was talking about this the other day, and I think it's an important thing to bring up is that um, one of the reasons that we don't use sexist, anti-gay, or bigoted language when you're in an argument with someone, besides the fact that it's, I don't know, sexist, anti-gay, or bigoted language, or racist language, why you don't do that in your interactions with an individual who you might have a problem with, is because you effectively take this one person you have a problem with and you make it about a bunch of other people and you involve them in the fight. And my argument is never call in an airstrike on your own position. The minute you do that, the minute you bring, instead of me and this person have an issue, me and your kind have an issue, then you're calling in an airstrike on your position. You're saying everybody even remotely tied to you is on your side of the argument, and now they are part of this argument. It's a terrible. Not only is it morally wrong, but tactically it's fucking dumb. And the same thing is happening with these guys. What they're doing is Donald John Trump, a man who 2 years after he took over his dad's company, he and his father were sued by the Justice Department because they wouldn't rent to black people. A man who palled around with Jeffrey Epstein for the better part of 2 decades. A man who bragged about grabbing women by the pussy and has over 24 credible sexual assault allegations against him, one of which is going through the courts for the second time because he's so stupid he couldn't keep his mouth shut after he was already found culpable in it. That guy, that man, that single human being, a man who, by the way, while he claims to, support evangelical Christians, believes prayer is a sign of weakness and there is nothing he would ever ask God for. Not because he doesn't think he deserves something, but because he doesn't pray. He doesn't believe in forgiveness. He doesn't believe in asking for forgiveness, which is anti-Christian. It is literally, no one enters the kingdom of heaven but through me. That's the purpose of Jesus Christ. You have to walk the path of his behavior to do it, to get into heaven. And he thinks that's just stupid. That's something stupid people believe. That man stole those documents that he knew he had no right to and showed them to other people with a wanton disregard for the safety of every American citizen. This isn't about Republicans versus Democrats. This isn't about one party versus the other. And what Donald Trump wants to do is turn this into party on party. And it's not. It is not. What? Do I think all Republicans would be so slapdash with national security? No. As a matter of fact, I think the vast majority of them are secretly, or at least, quietly, horribly offended by this. So what the fuck does this have to do with one party going after the other party? Are Republicans the party of individual responsibility or not? Because every fucking time this asshole gets into trouble, they call in an airstrike and want to throw themselves on the grenade for him. I don't get it.
And then there's a separate issue of how you deal with crimes. I don't think that you can excuse criminal behavior for anyone because the other party got away with it. I think that the only
how
answer
can you
to this
say that in the
is-
vacuum that vacuum? And I look, as a general principle floating around out there, I agree with you, but you can't disassociate that statement from what happened with Hillary, what's happening right now with Hunter that we spent the first half hour talking about. You just can't. You can ignore criminal behavior. They're doing it right now.
No, they're not, because the FBI has already gone through this, and this was, by the way, not just Comey, who Trump wouldn't even be in office if it wasn't for Comey. Let's just be abundantly clear. If it wasn't for Comey coming out and saying that shit about there might be more to Hillary Clinton's email thing than there was, and 2 years later, nothing. If it hadn't been for him doing that, Trump wouldn't have gotten over the hump. That's what gave him the Electoral College. That's what gave him that extra 75,000 votes in 3 states. And Hunter Biden pled guilty to 2 tax charges and a gun charge. And it is the difference, by the way, between being criminally liable and admitting your criminal liability and your absolute wanton disregard for the legal system entirely in the case of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like, fuck you, copper, come and get me. But instead of standing on the roof with a Tommy gun like some sort of gangster from the 40s, he's just kicking his supporters off the roof, using them like human bombs.
Yep, exactly. But if you do that, you perpetuate the end of this country itself. This is a country that is a democracy that relies exclusively on the trust of the American people. If half of this country believes that they are never going to get a fair shot simply because of their political affiliation, one of 2 things happens. Either they all become Democrats or the country erupts into civil war. You don't have...
No one's going to have a fucking civil war because Donald Trump showed our retaliation attack plan if Iran bombs Israel to a bunch of fucking writers because his dick felt small. I don't know what this half-you IKEA desk that they're sitting behind is, but do you know how like noxious and fucking dumb that is? Well, here's the thing. All this does is encourage some pop-offs by lone wolf lunatics that, you know, at worst, a possible Timothy McVeigh, and on the small end, like the dude who shot up the FBI office in Cincinnati. The rest of this country is going to fight the rest of the goddamn country because Trump admitted to stealing documents, admitted on tape, got caught doing it, and they're like, but Hillary, they did an investigation, and it didn't turn out that she meant it, and there was no top secret human intel from, but still, like, nobody's gonna fucking rise up and no.
A choice when you're operating in a place like America, but to try to figure out how to get back to what our founders intended as a government for.
Yes, and for the people, by the people, and of the, shut the fuck up. Look, what our founders intended was that we don't have a king, primarily, that we have a chief executive, but that person is just like everybody else. As we say in the Masons, everybody's on the level. We're all equal. That's it. All men are created. That's what the fucking point is. That's where we are. And if Donald Trump gets to skate on this shit while, you know, Snowden and Assange are fleeing the fucking country and Chelsea Manning and Reality Winner are doing their time honorably, if there's 2 tiers of justice, it's because they let him slide.
The people and by the people.
Do you need some gold or something, or buy something? I don't know what the rest of her thing is. She's going to be pitching there. Now, the defense, by the way, thank you guys for being here. It's Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. And to all the trolls that are in here, we have a few. We have a couple of maggots in here. Welcome. Glad you're here. I know you're a mess. You're full of, what is this? Just a bombshell revelation by the state president just made it public that I sold a lot of state secrets and impeachable measures. Check the video. State dinner with PM Modi of India admission. Wow, gotcha. All right, we'll check the. I'm sure that's exactly what he said. We'll check it, but yeah, feel free to send it. Yeah. Anyways, already gave it to you. Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks. Where is this? Been on the phone for 2 hours. Nice, put it through. Press fears America first. Where's the Modi thing? Did I miss it in there? I don't know. Is that what we're talking about? Nope, that's total bullshit. Yeah, well, of course. But I just want to see the part that they're talking about. Hilarious. Anyways, so maggots, I'm just trying to tell you that I don't know why you would spit in the face of Christ the way you do. I don't get it. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. Has anyone spoke with Phil in Ukraine today? Not today, but he will be on the show tomorrow. And then I will be, by the way, tomorrow I will be bugging out to LA to do my show at Flappers. So there might not be an afternoon show tomorrow. Apologies if not. If you're a Patreon supporter, you get to see the show Sometimes it's a lot of talking on my voice to do 3 shows in a day, as you might imagine. So yeah, what you talking about, Willis? I have no idea. The fact that Megan had Stephen Hassan on and still perpetuates a big lie. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is she might be a roundhouse. Who knows? Yeah. So where? Sorry, Modi GOP gonna because you guys are. It doesn't matter the religion. They all hate Muslims, women, and gay people. Okay. You don't tug on Superman's cape and you don't mess around with Jim. I agree. Yes, 8 PST Flappers show tomorrow night. And Charlene May will be opening, and we had a couple of special guests. It'll be fun. Flappers, RAV section. Steve Gruber. Okay, thank you. I will look at that. Steve Gruber, the Gruber of all time. Steve Gruber. Is it in the ones without a let's see. I'm finding it. I'm looking. Let's see. To dig through it. It's in the smaller stuff. Is it? And say hello, Michael Lindell, Michael Lindell, Michael Lindell. And this. Oh, I see. But I said sold a lot of. Okay, this is what they're talking about. Okay, so let's give it a shot, shall we? Shall we? Steve Gruber, who is the host of the Steve Gruber Show, because they couldn't find anyone else.
Let's be honest. He's just not quick on his feet. And I'm not talking about his serious balance issues that have resulted in numerous public falls.
He doesn't have a balance issue. He has a shortened tendon from the ankle break he did during the campaign.
3 times on Air Force One as the world watched, falling off a bicycle that was standing still, and more recently, falling into a near face plant on Air Force Academy graduation day in front of everyone again. God only knows how many times he's crashed behind closed doors at the White House or in Delaware. But if this keeps up, he is going to get seriously injured or worse, maimed.
Okay, get to the point.
Accurate comment. And he's never corrected that either.
Without you.
The leader of India a few days ago. Joe Biden sitting there talking, he tells the audience that he's sold a lot of state secrets. Maybe his medication was running low yesterday afternoon. Or maybe it's true. Listen.
I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. I was just thanking, anyway, I started off with.
I was just told.
Without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
Oh, they're joking about it. Okay, so that's a back and forth. Somebody asked him a question, so they're midway through it. You're just gonna not do the opening? All right, hold on. Do we have to dig through it? Did we get to do that? Is that how it? Yeah, he was joking. All right, so, but hey, it's an admission. That's how it works. Okay, hold on a second. Let me do this. Let's see. Biden, Modi, whoops, dinner. I think it's at the dinner, right? When they're having the, let's see, where is the, sorry, is it the cabinet meeting, right? Whoops. Maybe it was a cabinet dinner. Let's see. The president raised a toast to PM Modi in. Okay, so that was the cabinet dinner. So it was that was the meeting then. Okay. Let's see. Hold meeting in the U.S.-Indian relationships. Let's see. Videos. I'm looking it up. We're good. Let's see. Okay, here it is. President, Prime Minister meet. There you go. Here's C-SPAN. Here we go. And this thing. And they're here.
Like partners to make this for the folks around this table. So
Okay.
to define what the 21st century looks like.
The sectors represent understanding the important discussion we've had with, but this is a very promising group, a wonderful group, and one which is going to give a direction to the world, which is going
Okay, so wait, this is the
future of the world. And with the resolve of
this?
this
It allows me to.
the vision of President Biden, the aspiration.
Between India and America to a new level. We're going to 50 years and help manage the risk to our society. We need your help to build guardrails, hold our shared value, biotechnology, as well as I want you to let us be technological partners, our own people, but they may be poverty.
Okay, they're translating it. There's a clip of it here. Oh, here would be the transcript of it. Maybe I should go there. Here's the full transcript. Give me 1 second. Okay. I was just thanking the, anyway, I started with you. I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very interesting things that we shared. Laughter. Now, all kidding aside, look, we're teaming up to develop new technologies that are going to transform our, okay, that's this part. Let's see.
Worthy, they're secure, and uphold our shared value and human rights. We need you to help us expand the more technological change. You've heard me say this.
Hold on. There's like an audio issue at the beginning of this. Okay, so it's before that piece. All kidding aside, right? Fucking hell, you really? You guys, that's what you're chasing down? He was joking about that, by the way. That is to be abundantly clear, is a joke about Donald Trump. That is him making a joke about Trump. Yeah, it was a dig at Trump. He tries it so much. Oh my God. Yeah, nice try, maggots. Well, yeah, keep at it. Now, keep in mind, if I may, let me try and bring this up if I can, because I want you to be able to. By the way, if he'd actually admitted to that, you think this guy would look that miserable? All right, so now, sometimes, I know we've talked about this a bunch, but sometimes when we're dealing with life's more stressful moments on Hal Sparks Megaworldwide, some serious issues. We've dealt with some stuff. We were on the air both when the Russian mutiny started and when it ended, and when it transitioned into its new phase of I guess self-flagellation and dick punching amongst Putin and his top advisors. It's going to be fun to watch over the next little bit, as they all, I guess, take turns punching themselves in the dick, or he gets to do it and then they all get to do it. I don't know. I don't understand the Russian system, but there are some times when you're like, wow, this is a lot of heavy stuff, a lot of heavy going on in the world. And how are we ever going to get through? How will we ever make it if something doesn't make us all laugh? Something we could all, no matter what your stripe is, whether you're a true blue American or a maggot who treats America like a rental property and you just want to take your posters off the wall, put a little toothpaste in where the tack hole was and pretend you spackled it. I know, I see you, so that you can get your, by the time, they realize you didn't fix anything, you just put toothpaste in the holes, you've already got your security deposit and you fucked off. I get it. Okay, so, sometimes we just need something we can all share. We can all see as that's ridiculous and it's stupid and it's hilarious. And that thing is Devin Nunes's smile. I don't know why no one has run interference on this guy. I mean, this is the worst I've ever seen it. This is officially the worst I have ever seen it. It's like when he says his name, he can't not. And then it looks like he's full on, like he's doing it on purpose. Like he's just, thanks for having me on Newsmax. Good Lord. Anyways, this is the other side of it. We saw Megyn Kelly and her friends dealing with the reality that that Trump is going to prison because he's an idiot, not even because of his crimes. He's gotten away with other crimes before. He's just too stupid. Again, his liar's fastball is he's threw out his shoulder a long time ago, and he's just not the athlete he used to be. Meanwhile, he's on Newsmax's show, Gary and the Blow-Up Doll. I don't know what is happening. What? Honest to God, is the Matrix fucking with us? Has anybody checked on Mouse? Did he put her in here? What happened? Were you checking out the girl in the red dress? Freeze. All right, so Judge Cannon denies prosecutor request to keep the witness under seal. And then that went up to the next court, and they said, tough shit.
Well, joining us now to discuss this, former California.
The deranged special prosecutor, Jack Smith, working in conjunction with the DOJ and FBI, illegally leaked and spun a tape. A transcript of me, which is actually an exoneration, rather than what they would have you believe. This continuing witch hunt is another election interference scam. They are cheaters and thugs. How they spin... Also, reminder, for the record, you can't leak a lie. This is an admission that tape is true. That's really him in the tape. Trump is admitting that's him on tape. We'll get to the spun part. I don't know what the fuck, whatever. But you cannot leak a lie. You can lie, but you can only leak something that's true. Even if it's an allegation, like this is truly an allegation that was made. It doesn't mean the allegation is true, but it's true that the allegation was made. That's what the Republicans are trying to do. That's how you dirty up the waters. This is a tape of him fucking talking. It's true. You can't leak a lie. Okay, now let's go.
California Congressman and Truth Social CEO Devin Nunes. Devin, always a pleasure to see you, sir. Let's dive right into this tape here. First of all, important to note the document that's being discussed with apparently Mark Meadows, publishers there for an upcoming book, has never been located, one. But second...
No. That copy has not been located. The document itself is well known, and there's a date on when Trump saw it. There's a date when Milley took it out and showed it to him. And all that is categorized, and all that is put on a calendar, and they keep track of all that shit. Stupid.
Secondly, this is a leak. Court evidence, grand jury is supposed.
You can't leak a lie, but spin it, kids. Oh wait, I made a button for that. Hold on. Excellent. All right. Where were we? Oh, yeah, these idiots.
To be under seal. This is illegal. And they're telling Trump he's supposed to have classified documents, keep them secret, but they're leaking court documents here. Many say it's pure hypocrisy.
I'm sorry. So they... Okay, first of all, is the leak coming from them or from Trump's people? Because Trump wants it put out to make it, because he thinks it exonerates. He's still fighting the battle with Milley. Trump is still, if you listen to his interview with Brett Baer, Trump is still in a dick measuring contest with Milley about Iran from fucking years ago. So there's every reason to believe Trump put this out just because, like, see, I told you, they drafted up the plan. Oh, God.
Well, thanks. It's great to be with you this morning. I don't even know what document they're talking about. And
why would you? You don't have, you're not, you never had the right to see these things. You certainly don't now, stupid.
And keep in mind, my guess is this is a 30-minute to an hour interview. And this is what the left in the media, and now, sadly, the Department of Justice and the FBI love to do. It is to selectively leak. It is to take.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. This is, if they'd have put out the whole thing, then they would be as guilty as Trump because he actually divulges the details. Also, the rest of it doesn't pertain to the case. Who gives a shit what he talked about the rest of the time? I mean, E. Jean Carroll might want a copy of the tape, wouldn't you say? Maybe there's other stuff that the Georgia prosecutor might want, but in terms of Jack Smith stuff, he doesn't give a shit about the rest of it. This is the only part that's germane to his case. None of the rest of it is exculpatory, and they gave the whole tape. I mean, Trump already has a fucking copy of it, more than likely, if he didn't put his own version out.
Take something possibly out of context.
Out of context. He admitted it on Bret Baier. What's the context? Tell me what the context is. I was being ironic, Dev.
What I heard right there, it's a nothing burger. There's nothing there.
There's everything there. I mean, it's literally an admission of guilt.
It appears like he's maybe referring to some article, some story maybe that had just come out. I think there's no question that Republicans in general, especially Trump, have no use for General Milley. We think that he's went woke. He's done a lot of damage to the...
He's went woke. Well, apparently he didn't think that when he asked for a plan to attack Iran.
Military. And so the fact that...
By the way, how woke is bombing Iran? Let's just take Trump at his word for a split second and run on that premise. So Trump is saying that we don't, and Noon Cow here says we don't take him seriously because Milley's woke, and yet Trump's defense is this crazy motherfucker wanted to bomb Iran. He's like the McCain kind of woke.
Trump is responding to something that we're not even sure what it is yet, but
we're exactly sure what it is. We know precisely what it is.
My guess is that there was some type of fake news story that had just recently been out in the news.
No, he's responding specifically. Hold on. My guess is your guess. You work for the dumb son of a bitch. Ask him. This is what he's talking about. This is what it was. You're going to have a fucking war. Mark Milley's fight to stop Trump from striking Iran. Inside the extraordinary final days conflict between the former president and his chairman of the Joint Chiefs staff. The last time that General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, spoke with Donald Trump was on January 3rd, 2021. This is, by the way, when he took the plan with him. This is when, when they checked the date. Oh, this is the date that the thing came out. But the subject of the Sunday afternoon meeting at the White House was Iran's nuclear program. For the past several months, Milley had been engaged in an alarmed effort to ensure that Trump did not embark on a military conflict with Iran as part of his quixotic campaign to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He's like, well, if we start a war with Iran, they can't change horses midstream, right? And he would have said that phrase 100 times, not knowing what it means, but he would have if you're going to change horses midstream, you can't change golf carts mid-seat, on the 18th, on the 8th hole, 9th, something. All right. Did not embark on military conflict. The chairman secretly feared that Trump would insist on launching a strike on Iranian interests that would set off a full-blown war. There were two nightmare scenarios. Milley told associates for the period after the November 3rd election, which resulted in Trump's defeat, but not his concession. Hold on, let me blow this up so you guys can see it a little bit better. Which resulted in Trump's defeat, but not his concession. One was that Trump would try to use military on the streets of America to prevent legitimate, peaceful transfer of power. The other was an external crisis involving Iran. It was not public at the time, but Milley believed that the nation had come very close to conflict with the Islamic Republic. This day because he had killed one of the head of their, the Royal Guard or whatever, while he was in a car on the way to the airport in Iraq. This dangerous post-election period, Milley said, was all about Trump's Hitler-like embrace of the big lie that the election had been stolen from him. Milley feared that Trump's Reichstag moment, in which, like Adolf Hitler in 1933, he would manufacture a crisis in order to swoop in and rescue the nation. To prevent such an outcome, Milley had, since 2020, been having morning phone meetings at 8 a.m. at most days with the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. But that's why this came up, by the way, because Meadows was named in it, and the book's about Meadows, and they're writing a book about Meadows, and he's worried that Mark Meadows is going to, yep, I met with Milley. He was genuinely concerned, and I watched Trump say stupid shit all the time, so it was a reasonable fear. And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who also Trump hates and is running against him, or is going to, more than likely, in the hopes of getting the country safely through Joe Biden's inauguration. The chairman, a burly four-star Army general who had been appointed to the post by Trump in 2019. I know the best people. I know them all. I'm not going to use them right away. I'm saving them for the second term I never have. It's in 2 weeks. Referred to these meetings with the staff as the land the plane calls, as in, both engines are out, the landing gear were stuck, we're in an emergency situation, our job is to land this plane safely and do a peaceful transfer of power on the 20th of January. This extraordinary confrontation between the nation's top military official and the commander-in-chief had been building through 2020, but before the election, Milley had drafted a plan on how to handle the perilous period leading up to the inauguration. He outlined 4 goals. First, make sure the U.S. did not necessarily go to war overseas. Second, make sure that U.S. troops were not used on the streets of America against the American people for the purpose of keeping Trump in power. Third, to maintain the military's integrity. And lastly, to maintain his own integrity. He referred to back to them often in conversation with others. As the crisis with Trump unfolded, blah, 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 there's okay. Let's see. Almost conscious of the day, Richard Nixon, when James Schlesinger reportedly warned the military not to act on any orders from the White House to launch a nuclear strike without first checking with him or with National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger, who probably would have just said, go ahead, do it. At one meeting with the Joint Chiefs in Milley's Pentagon office, the chairman invoked Benjamin Franklin's famous line saying they should all hang together, or surely we will hang separately. To concerned members of Congress, including Speaker Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, and also emissaries of the incoming Biden administration, Milley also put out the word Trump might attempt a coup, but he would fail because he would never succeed in co-opting the American military. He's also a shit leader. And, he's good at getting people to, ride their boats around in fucking swamp water and sink them and ride around in golf carts with a picture of his head on Rocky's body. But that's way different than military plans. Our loyalty is the U.S. Constitution, Milley told them. We are not going to be involved in politics. This account being behind the scenes. Let's see if he goes to. Statement released Thursday reacting to reports of the Rucker and Lenning book. Trump said, I never threatened or spoke about to anyone a coup of our government. If I was going to do a coup, one of the last people I would want to do it is Mark Milley. Well, because he wouldn't join you in it, stupid. That's not an insult. Trump said he selected Milley for the post only because he wanted to spite his Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, who said he could not stand him. I often act counter to people's advice who I don't respect. Great. So you picked Milley to be in charge of the military because you wanted to fuck with Mad Dog Mattis? That's why. That was the standard by which Donald Trump chose leadership in our military. This is some apprentice shit. Who's okay with this? Maggots. Who's okay with this? This is the standard. This is why he did it. This isn't why I say he did it. This is what he says about his decision-making process. I know the best people. I'm not going to pick them, though, because I want to fuck with the guy in charge of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. The hell? Milley had been in full alarm mode since 2020. On June 1st, Trump had used the general as a prop in his Lafayette Square photo op. Trump had marched through the plaza, blah, blah, blah. Considered resigning, but he said, I'll fight from the inside. The following week, during a previously scheduled commencement address, he apologized publicly for taking part in political display. That's why Trump hated him. Esper has been shitting on Trump lately, especially in his book. It's like he's probably the sharpest. The president went apeshit on Esper, Milley told associates, one of the worst such reamings out he had ever seen. Trump would go on to fire Esper days after he lost the 2020 election. Milley told his aide that, he had somebody do it. He had, Kelly do it. Milley later repeated as apologies, Trump told him, according to an account of what Milley later, are a sign of weakness. Not where I come from, Milley later told associates. I don't expect you to understand, Milley said. It's an ethic for us, a duty. In a statement on Thursday, Trump referenced his anger at Milley's apology. I saw at that moment he had no courage or skill. Certainly not the type of person I would be talking coup with. I'm not into coups. Trump seems to think in this exchange, which you know what kind of a fucking spongehead you have to be to think that Milley's criticism is that he wasn't included in the coup? Because that's what Trump seems to think. Trump seems to think I'm not going to commit a coup. I would never. It's he's the last person I would have involved in my coup. I got other people involved. I would pick other people. Yeah, you did, dummy. You picked Steve Bannon after you pardoned him for ripping off maggots. Anyways, this is the story. And then let's see. Yeah, here it is. Finally, on January 3rd, after Trump had flown back from his Christmas vacation at Mar-a-Lago, he convened the Oval Office meeting on Iran, asking his advisors about recent reports from the IAEA on Iran's nuclear activities. Both Mike Pompeo and National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien told Trump it was not possible to do anything militarily at that point. Their attitude was that it was too late to hit them. After Milley walked through the potential costs and consequences, Trump agreed. After Milley walked through the potential costs and consequences, Trump agreed. And that was that. After months of anxiety and uncertainty, the Iran fight was over. At the very end of the meeting, Trump brought up the forthcoming rally of his supporters on January 6th, asking Milley and the acting defense secretary, Christopher Miller, if they were prepared for what Trump had already promised on Twitter that would be a wild protest. It was a short conversation. Milley later recalled to an associate, no more than a couple of minutes at the end of an hour-long meeting. It's going to be a big deal, Milley heard Trump say. You're ready for that, right? It was the last time the president would ever speak to his Joint Chiefs Chairman. Just 3 days later, on January 6th, Virgin Milley's nightmare scenario played out anyways, an attack on the U.S. Capitol. Trump had his Reichstag moments. This is the part about led up to the Iran part. In the months after the election, with Trump seemingly willing to do anything to stay in power, the subject of Iran was repeatedly raised in White House meetings with the president, and Milley repeatedly argued against a strike. Trump did not want a war, the chairman believed, but he kept pushing for a missile strike in response to various provocations against U.S. interests in the region. Milley, by statute, the senior military advisor to the president, was worried that Trump might set in motion a full-scale conflict that was not justified. Trump had a circle of Iran hawks around him and was close with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, not for long, though, who was also urging the administration to act against Iran after it was clear that Trump had lost the election. If you do this, you're going to have a fucking war, Milley would say. That's what this was in relation to. And Devin Nunes knows this. Of course he knows what this is in relation to. I remember that story when it came out.
That President Trump was looking at and he wasn't happy about, and he was having a back and forth with a reporter. And then finally there's this, Bianca. What document? What is it? Why don't they name it? I mean, if it's like some...
Because the admission of its existence is specifics about it anyways. Admitting its existence specifically is a violation of its classification status. It's that top secret that they can't even give the number for it or which one it is or the draft proposal of it. The very existence of it shouldn't be known, so therefore they can't yammer about it. This is just dumb.
Iran war plans. We've heard lots of leaks about this,
That's right.
But once again, we don't know what the hell they're talking about. So
you're not supposed to, stupid. That's the point. That's why it's classified.
Look, the fact CNN and the Washington Post get it, my experience with this...
Really? They're just, Newsmax, you're just going to freeze that image of him and just let that... Okay.
This is, and it's vast experience, the leaks come from DOJ and FBI, and they're selective leaks. They're illegal leaks.
Yeah.
Also, by the way.
And Devin, that is a huge problem. And you make a great point about we don't know.
Well, they are selective. Way to use technical language. They are selective in that they had to remove the classified stuff that he blurted out in front of people at his rental property.
What this document was, the president, look, he could have been bragging a little bit. I mean, he could have been talking it up a bit. But the thing that the takeaway from...
I don't care what he's... First of all, talking it up a bit, he held it up and showed it to them. They all reacted to it. They all saw the classification markings. They reacted to those classification markings. It isn't about his testimony. Those other people have been interviewed. Fuck, this is
For
dumb.
me, what I was wondering is, well, if it's true that we were planning on attacking Iran, why didn't we? I mean, that's more intriguing to me in all this. But that said, look, is this an attempt, do you think, to try...
Yeah, that's going to be Newsmax's defense of Trump after all this. We should have attacked Iran. Why didn't we bomb them? I don't know. Why didn't you guys back John McCain over this fuckhead then?
And to basically try and convict Trump in the court of public opinion.
Well, look.
Excuse you. Trump came out before this tape came out, and because the words themselves were in the indictment because they were made public, the judge made them public, And so Trump came out and tried to say, that's not what was said, and this is all bullshit. And the tape got out because this is actually what he said. This is actually him. And he's not even denying it.
You also have to go to the indictment. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've spent a lot of time with lawyers and reviewing documents over the years. And I actually don't see, everybody continues to call this classified documents. Well, number one, he's not being prosecuted under mishandling of classified documents like I would have been as a former congressman if I had information, say, sitting.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is.
In my garage by a Corvette that I don't have. I would be prosecuted under the mishandling of class.
No. Oh, by the way, that's the distinction here. Notice this. You're right. Trump is not being charged with mishandling anything. He's being charged with how he handled them. He's being charged with conspiracy to retain classified documents he had no right to. Mishandling? He didn't mishandle. This reminds me of one of those things when somebody gets drunk and goes on a bigoted bender yelling racial epithets at people, and they went, that was an unfortunate situation. Unfortunate. It wasn't a roulette roll. Like if it lands on red, I've got to start like dropping racial epithets all over the place. You chose to do that.
Classified documents. They're not doing that. So even though they call these classified documents in that indictment, they clearly must not think they're declassified. And
oop, that was a Freudian slip. Did you guys notice that one?
The mishandling of classified documents. They're not doing that. So even though they call these classified documents in that indictment, they clearly must not think they're declassified. And in this case,
yeah. Yes, you're onto something, dum-dum. Accidentally, of course. Yeah, that's the problem. They're not declassified. Trump knows he has no right to declassify. You just saw the tape. You've heard it. Trump knows he has no right to declassify these things. He admitted to it. He admitted to having classified documents and hiding them and retaining them illegally. And this whole story, like, well, they're magically declassified. He knows it's horseshit, and so do you. You can't even Freudian your slip.
It's real simple. Show the whole thing. The entire audio tape has to be available. There have to be witnesses there. So why wouldn't they have put in the?
Yeah. Yes. That's why there are 87 witnesses in the case against Trump. 87. 85 of them either worked for him or still do.
Indictment. And this, remember, this is fodder. It sounds really bad. They made it look really bad. But on this specific issue, they don't charge Trump with trying to sell those documents to these people.
That's because they don't have to catch you trying to sell them. You're not even supposed to have them in the first fucking place. Also, you think, well, again, that comes next. How about this? How about they charge him with having them, and they charge him later after they catch the people he sold them to.
People that are in the room are trying to show this document to the people.
That's exactly what he does. He tries to show it to randos in the room, including an unidentified person who we now know is Anna the Rothschild, a.k.a. Ilya Yashishin, a Russian-Ukrainian who goes back to the days of pre-2014 Ukraine.
People in the room, and they can't even name the document. And so,
they can't name the document because it's that classified. That's why they're talking around it, stupid.
A lot of this, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I just continue to go back and
smoke and mirrors. It's documents and audio tape, you stupid.
Say, look, you've got the Presidential Records Act. You had everybody who did exactly the same thing. I think
Nope. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Nobody else was like, let's tell my attorney that we're going to keep all these boxes in this room and not move them. And then as soon as they go home, you start bringing those boxes in. I'm going to start going through them, taking out classified stuff, put it in my desk, and then you put the boxes back when I'm done getting all the classified shit out of there. And then if if they find any, if I miss any, when they go back into the place, when my attorney comes back in a couple of weeks, we'll have them go through it. And if they find any, I'll tell them to just take it out and throw it away so we don't get in trouble. And then we'll take the rest of these boxes to Bedminster. As opposed to, say, Pence and Biden specifically recently, if you're going to look at the physical documents issue, who both said, yes, we found some, we're turning those over, and they shouldn't be in the wind, and we want the FBI and people with clearance to come in and do a sweep of the whole area, make sure it's all out of here. We don't even have to be there. Knock yourself out. We're not going to call it a raid. We're not going to threaten your life. We're not going to tell our supporters that you're monsters for wanting to go through our fucking garage or our guest house or any of that shit. Do you see the difference?
American people, once they actually hear something other than the fake news, and they hear that, well, you had Vice President.
But enough about the Brett Baer interview.
Pence had them. Biden had documents all over the place, including when he was senator. Obama had them.
Wait a minute. First of all, including when he was senator. Okay. All of his senatorial papers, the 1,850 boxes, the senators, none of them are under the Presidential Records Act. None of them. Those are his papers from when he was a senator. None of it's classified. None of it's those boxes, those things that went to actually the University of Delaware or whatever the fuck. None of that is presidential shit. That's just from when he was a senator. That's not stuff that was taken from a SCIF. And the stuff that was in his house that he had from when he was a senator, that was classified from the timing that he was a senator, that might have been in a SCIF. As vice president, he has access to that stuff, and that's how he had it. It wasn't because he took it home when he was a senator and left it there. It was when he was actually vice president. And it was in the boxes with the stuff that came back with him from being vice president. Period. Nobody even disputes that.
Bush had them. So what are you doing with Trump? I mean,
Yeah.
and the
I think it would be the fighting and lying part. I think that's the part. Like, anybody can make a mistake. You don't get punished for a mistake. You get punished for trying to cover it up. Again, the cover up being worse than the crime. Except in this case, this crime probably got some U.S. agents and some Israeli agents at the very least murdered.
archivist, don't forget, this is the other big issue in this. The archivist testified to Congress a few weeks before the indictment came down, and this hasn't gotten much coverage. But supposedly the archivist makes a criminal referral based on a letter from Obama to Trump and a letter from Kim Jong-un to Trump. That's the testimony of the archivist. Now, what the hell is the archivist in this country doing making criminal referrals on two letters that are clearly Donald Trump's letters? They were sent to him. The archivist, if he wanted a copy of the letters or didn't have a copy of the letters, he could just call up Trump and ask him. But no, you're telling me he picks up the phone and says,
No, I'm going to guess you're misreading that, and secondly, that wasn't the driving point that actually resulted in this. This is other documents. This is when people were like, oh yeah, you know those documents you want to get back from him because Nara wants them? Yeah, he was just holding up an Iran attack plan the other day that said classified on the folder. He just took it out and showed he fucking what? And then that in and of itself could be the premise for this entire push.
Send in the raid, send the FBI in. He's got a letter from Obama that he hasn't, that's classified.
Congressman,
Look,
I mean,
Yeah, that's not what they were looking for, stupid. I was about to say it's a good attempt. It's not, it's a whiff.
what happened here is somebody at DOJ and the FBI convinced the archivist to make a criminal referral so that they can raid Mar-a-Lago and that they can indict the former president, their political enemy.
Obviously,
I know that's what you have in your notes. I can tell from you looking down. But no, that's not even close to the level of importance of the documents that he had and how he was storing them and how wantonly he was storing them in his total disregard for their safety and security and the awareness of dozens of people around him of the shit that he had. You didn't need a criminal referral from the archivist to discover this stuff. He was blabbing to everybody. I got news for you. Mark Meadows could have made the phone call, stupid, to cover his own ass.
something his legal team will be tearing into
Oh yeah, I'm sure they got it covered.
In the months ahead, as we know. And obviously this leaked tape here, illegal, and you clearly made some very salient points on what we did not exactly hear. Congressman Nunes, got to leave you there. Always.
Yeah, no. Like that's, I mean, if you're going to swing for it, I guess you got something. All right, now, I've got so many things to choose from. It's difficult. How in the world? It's so difficult. Because I mean, at this point, I should start like a poll on the regular, which is like, do we go with Laura Loomer? Check this out. Laura Loomer explains how Kevin McCarthy is using donors to fight against President Trump. Okay. I don't have any popcorn, though. This is, hold on, get out of here. Live coverage at the New Hampshire Lilac Luncheon. Carolyn Levitt, the spokeswoman for MAGA Incorporated campaign. Trump's got to have a piece of that. Full interview. Okay, full interview, and it's what? How long is it? 7 minutes, something like that. And then, this is an anti-Durham screed from The Mess. And then the Biden's made how much? Again, coveting is a sin, Glenn. I'm just saying. All right, I want to hear what MAGA Incorporated says. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Before we talk about the president, let's talk about another conservative rock star, Carolyn Levitt, who is the MAGA Incorporated spokeswoman. Carolyn, give me a high five. I'll tell you what, you are awesome.
Oh, thank you. You're so awesome. This is so awesome. You're awesome. Everybody gets a free tumbler. I mean, have you had a chance to try the salad and cake combo?
You've done some great things for our country.
Salad and cake. I'm not kidding. That's just salad and cake. Is that what that is? Cool.
Talk to us.
Or is that a slice of beet? I don't know.
About the president and how you're feeling right now.
Sure. Well, I'm very excited. We are all very excited to welcome the president back to the Granite State because he's going to win this New Hampshire primary for the third time. There's a lot of enthusiasm behind those doors. People are excited to hear from him. He's been giving, I think, really impressive speeches lately.
To smaller and smaller crowds. I don't think he's losing support so much as his support is becoming more selective.
And more than any other candidate in this Republican primary, he's been rolling out tangible policy solutions to the issues that we are seeing here in New Hampshire and all across this country.
Yes, like quick trials, Chinese-style justice for drug dealers. If they turn out to be innocent later on, oops, sucks to be you. It's going to be the Sucks to Be You Act of Trump 2024.
Because of Joe Biden's abysmal, disastrous agenda. Donald Trump's Agenda 47 plan is strong. He wants to bring the death penalty to drug dealers.
Wow, right out of the gate, what'd I say? Holy shit. Like, what if they turn out not, what if they're innocent later? What if exculpatory evidence comes in maybe 6 months later? They're, just worm meat, I guess, is
largest mass deportation operation in America.
The largest mass deportation. We're going to just scoop everybody up and kick them out of the country. If they turn out to not even speak Spanish and have been born here, I mean, basically, giant water slide, everybody brown gets on it.
American history, banning gender mutilation surgeries, banning men and women's sports. These are solutions that the American people are desperate for right now. And
yes, we're desperate for that. We're all clamoring. The other day I need to pick. I went to a pharmacy to pick up some cold medication, and this guy wanted to staple my dick underneath. He goes, it's part of the transition. I was like, but I'm not even trans. It doesn't matter. It's Joe Biden's America. Do you want a regular metal staple, or do you want we have rainbow staples if you'd like one? I was like, well, if I have to, I guess.
That's why you see Donald Trump is beating everyone else in the field by 40 points right now. Here,
not so much. He's at 40 points in the Republican Party. That's right. He's currently winning half of his own party.
in the Granite State and in every state across this country.
And speaking of other candidates, Mr. DeSantis down the road in Hollis, New Hampshire, it's kind of like, come on, really?
Yeah.
Come on, like, what are you doing? I mean, you tried? Like, what? Do you even MAGA, bro? I mean, honestly.
I heard it's a weak crowd in a pretty poor-looking venue.
Yeah, they don't have the sweet cucumber shaved carrot combo that we have here with the slice of the wedge of, it's a turd. I think it's a turd at this point with a I'm just gonna go that those are turds. It's no big deal. It's just a turd. It's a turd with a toothpick in it, because you don't want to, if that's stuck in there, you want to get in there and get it out.
Ron DeSantis continues to drop like a rock here in the first in the nation primary state. I'll tell you why, because I am from this state. He showed up a few times. He talks about Florida, doesn't talk about New Hampshire, doesn't take questions from voters, and snaps at reporters. That's not the New Hampshire way. You got to shake hands.
It isn't? Sorry, you don't think Trump snaps at reporters? Anyways.
Especially if you're a governor from another state. Why are you coming here and not talking about the problems that the people of New Hampshire are facing?
I don't know. Trump comes there and talks about his problems.
Donald Trump has such a deep connection with the Republican base that he
basically, when he's talking about his own problems, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, I'm allergic to. There's something. I think it's something that's on the table or something like that. What is? It's hello bullshit.
DeSantis has no chance at trying to take that away from what Donald Trump has done for the people of New Hampshire and securing our border, reinvesting in our domestic energy production.
Wait, you're securing the New Hampshire border? Jesus Christ. People from Vermont are monsters.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you. By the way, thanks for the blessings, by the way. I appreciate that. Thank you. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Trump sucks. And he's dug his own political and legal grave. And it's fun to watch.
At the end of the day, Donald Trump is a real guy. I think that's why everybody really likes him.
It's so true. And
He's so real. He's like real. Like, you can see him when he's there. You're like, oh my God, is he an idol? And I'm like, nope, he's sweating. He's real. Look at that orange stuff is leaking onto his collar. And his hair's real weird.
He's speaking on stage, and that's one of the things I'm going to highlight. The largest difference between Donald Trump and anyone else in this field, but especially Joe Biden right now, right, is that Donald Trump
is his cholesterol?
Trump was a billionaire businessman who gave all of that up to fight.
Okay. You either have to, if you say billionaire businessman with Donald Trump, you either have to put a TM next to it, put it in air quotes, or make it a hashtag, because none of it, then it doesn't have to be true. You can just say it.
Fight for the people in this room today. Joe Biden spent a career in public service, became
what a terrible notion. A career in public service. Ew.
A millionaire by ripping off the people in this room today.
He did? What, did they all buy his book? How many copies did they buy?
That's the major difference. And I think...
What did he do? Did he come to New Hampshire to the Lilac Luncheon, talk to all the Republicans, go, the evidence is in my book. There are golden ticket copies that have the evidence in them, but you have to buy. It doesn't count. You find it, go find it. And they were like, oh, shit. And they all went out and bought his book. And like, there's no evidence in here. Just really touching stories about his family and his kid.
A lot of everyday Americans who don't pay attention to the news so much. They're running their businesses, they're raising their families, but
the one thing they do know is that they hate their life right now. And they want some salad and a turd and a little tumbler with Republican Party of New Hampshire on it and a plastic American flag made in China.
We're starting to realize how corrupt this current administration is. And
they're just starting to realize? Well, if they keep realizing, I suppose they'll, what do you think? By sometime in 2025, they'll go like, oh my God, I just fully realized.
It is really fearing a lot of people.
It is really fearing a lot of people. I'm very feared. Are you guys afeared? It is true. Obviously, he not only does Trump have the best words, he has people who work for him who have the best words and are the best
so
people.
Much. They're running their businesses, they're raising their families, but they are starting to realize how corrupt this current administration is, and it is really fearing a lot of people.
Yeah, no, she's crazy. She is totally nuts.
What?
And people are realizing we need Donald Trump back in that White House.
I was just
no. No, they aren't.
Just talking about the seriousness of the situation in our country.
Yeah.
I want to hear it from you. Really, what is your...
Yeah, I was just talking about it, but I don't even remember what I said because I mean, I work for Newsmax or RSBN, so I'm constantly like blah blah blah. I don't remember the last time I even said something good about the country. Shit.
How serious is the situation in this nation for our Constitution?
You don't know? You don't know? Why are you asking her, asshole? What? You don't know? Look around you. This is how bad things are. You're about to have dinner less than 50 feet from Donald Trump, and everyone gets a turd, apparently, on a small plate, and no one notices because of him. They're just gonna sit there and, oh my God, it's amazing. Well, it's a little dry, is it? Is it? I'm not even sure. I can't even take my eyes off of it. I have a peanut allergy, but are these real peanuts? I don't think.
For our faith, for freedom, for everything.
It is the most important election in our lifetimes by far. If we have another 4 years of Joe Biden, this wannabe dictator-in-chief, America will cease to exist. We need to...
Yep, it's not going to happen anymore. America's that weak. Yeah. I know most of you thought, wait, wasn't the black guy supposed to ruin the place? No. Nope, even the black guy couldn't do it yet. Only Joe Biden has the power to destroy America if we don't let Trump do it. I think that's how it works.
Vote like our lives in this great nation truly depend on it. We are seeing the weaponization of our Department of Justice against a leading political opponent. These are things you see.
Or you've seen a guy run for office because he thinks that gets him out of a fucking speeding ticket.
You can hear about in communist regimes such as Cuba and Venezuela, not here in the United States of America. And
well, I mean, he is getting an actual trial and representation and stuff. There's no like kind of stockade or anything.
The truths are starting to be revealed about the greatest political corruption scandal in American history.
Oh, super exciting. Yes. What is the greatest political corruption scandal ever? Let's hear it.
Biden accepting bribes from foreign nationals.
For what? I got you. Let's just bring it. Millions of dollars. The Bidens took in millions of dollars in exchange for what? Because for it to be a bribe, would it doesn't involve, like, if it otherwise they're throwing money everywhere, and they just managed to get some on him.
Setting up shell companies when he was vice president, selling out every single American citizen and voter. That's
every single one of us sold us out for communist something. For what? What did he get the money for? What did the other people get in exchange for the money? Please tell me. What right or privilege as an American did I lose? Because, and I'm not giving you that the money was actually paid, but let's just say it did. For what?
That's what's at stake in this election, is obliterating the deep swamp.
Yes, obliterating the deep swamp. That's new. It's the deep swamp. And it is. It's so like it's a deep swamp in so many ways.
Trump talks about that all the time.
He does talk about the deep swamp all the time. I'm sorry I've missed it. I think he talks about the swamp and the deep state, but I didn't realize they joined together. That's why he's having such a hard time, because the swamp and the deep state have joined forces. Deep swamp. Okay.
Never heard about the deep swamp until Donald Trump came onto the political scene.
You're right. I have never heard about the deep swamp until frankly, you just mentioned it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because he's the only candidate that isn't owned by them.
100. He's not owned by the deep swamp? Or do they loan him out, or is he He's just like a business partner. Maybe he has a LLC with the Deep Swamp.
I agree with you. Also,
you do? You're just going to let the Deep Swamp thing, you're not going to correct her and say Deep State or Swamp, or you're just going to assume she's right? Well, I mean, that's why she gets paid the big bucks.
2020, the Democrat playbook was, hey, let's do these mail-in ballots with this COVID thing. Now the playbook is the indictment thing. I mean, do you see how much they're hating the truth?
They hate.
They hate the truth. They hate the truth that that Trump admitted that he committed a crime or that he lost fair and square. So true.
Hate the truth. They can't stand the truth, and they can't stand the fact that the American people are backing President Trump because we see the truth through the lies of CNN and all of the big corporate mainstream media that pushed and propagated the Russia hoax, had Adam Schiff on television.
You got him nodding. You got to just keep rolling. The Gish Gallop's working.
Every single night he was lying to the American people. Donald
No, he wasn't.
Trump was right. There was never any collusion with Russia.
Yes, there was.
That was a $30 million scheme by the Democrats that we paid for, by the way. The tax.
No, actually, the money that was seized, including money from Manafort and others, actually paid for the Mueller investigation. Technically, the Mueller investigation made money.
Taxpayers, we funded the Russia hoax.
Nope.
And shame on all of the Democrats and all of the hacks in the media who pushed it.
You go into the box and you sit for 2 minutes and you feel shame.
Forward. Donald Trump was right on that. He will be right on this hoax classified documents indictment that.
This hoax classified documents. Are the classified documents the hoax, or the indictment is a hoax, or it's just they're indicting him for a classified hoax? I'm very confused.
Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are hell-bent on because they want to distract from the real crimes of the corrupt Biden crime family.
Such as, I'm just saying, now would be the perfect time to go, like, this payment that they got to do this, that destroyed this, so we couldn't do this, and America paid for it because of this. See how easy that would be? Like, if you had, I mean, obviously I don't know what you would fill in the quo part of the quid pro quo. I don't know what you would fill that in with. I just don't know why you don't. It's kind of like when Rudy Giuliani was always talking about his affidavits, and he's got thousands of affidavits. And I was like, why don't you just sit there and just read them like an audiobook? If people are standing by what they say, if they say what you say they say, why don't you just say what they say instead of talking around them? Just say that. Just take a pile of them and go, here's one from Joe Cinciarone from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I tried to vote twice for Trump, and they would only let me vote. That goes on the bottom of the pile. This one is from Marge Tululami from the Villages in Florida. Great place, great Trump country, saying, I voted 4 times for Trump, and only one of them counted. You know what? Let's see if we got another one here. I was told I wouldn't be allowed to vote for Trump a 3rd time, and that's a violent shit. Okay, we'll be back right after this word from Golden Cigars.
And Carolyn, can you tell me a little bit about yourself when you started out in this whole thing called politics, right?
Yeah, because you obviously have been in this game for decades.
What were you doing, and then why did you switch over to?
Why did Trump pick you in particular to be a part of it, and how did he pick you? Did he just did he walk up and there was like a grabbing, or
do what you're doing?
Sure. Well, I started out actually way back when as an intern in Donald Trump's White House in his.
You don't say.
First administration. I was.
So you worked for free for him. Okay.
Offered a full-time job, took it. Then I moved over. I, of course, lost my job with the rigged election of 2020. Then
he lost his election. You lost your job because he lost his election. But yeah.
I moved over to Capitol Hill for a little bit. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to come back to my home state of New Hampshire and run for office, which I did. We had an enormous victory in our primary last year, a 10-point victory against the establishment. I was outspent, but we were not outworked. We won. Unfortunately, our Democrat congressman is still in D.C. right now, but I am very focused now as the spokeswoman for MAGA Inc. to ensure.
Yeah, I don't know why you didn't get further in that one. I don't. So did you run on a elections or lies ticket, and you had a hard time turning out your base to vote for you because they didn't think they could trust the election? I know your vote's going to be stolen, but come out and have it stolen from me. It's a great sales pitch. It's awesome. I didn't, seems like an uphill battle. Seems like a reach.
President Trump gets back in that White House and we can make America great again.
Are there any networks that are the liberal legacy media? Do they contact you? Do they want you on? Do they try and debate you now?
Not yet. We've reached out to a few.
Really, I don't understand why. She's magic. I feel like I've learned a lot just listening to her. But luckily, RSBN is letting her on, and yeah.
Few of them, they haven't put me on, so we'll have to see about that. I don't know why. We're just speaking truth right now. That might be why.
That's what it is. They just don't like the truth.
Exactly. They hate the truth. Finally,
they do. They can't handle the truth.
Can you share with us maybe a story
of why there's a turd on every plate in this place? Why? What's with the turds? Why is there one on? Is that a New Hampshire thing? Are they deep fried? Is it kind of a fuck you Alabama kind of a thing?
If you were talking to the president or just around, I mean, his demeanor, he's such a strong individual, as we know.
Yes. Tell me how strong he is. Is it when he does his 1,000 push-ups first thing in the morning? Is it true that his farts smell like lilacs?
Oh, can you talk to us about his spirit right now, like as he's moving forward, dealing with all
spirit? Yes, spirit. Yes, he did, sir. What? Spirit? No, bravado, a touch of daring do. About 11:30, sir.
All of the things that the enemy is throwing his way.
I think it's stronger than ever. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this is the strongest I've ever seen him, especially that side jaw thing he does now. He seems so comfortable.
The past two speeches Donald Trump has given, one at the Faith and Freedom Coalition with voters that are the heart and soul of our nation, as he called
almost literally
them in his speech, and then
so he called him that. So that must be
again
true.
In Michigan the following night, where he was given the Man of the Decade award.
The Decade of the Man award, I think, yeah, because every time you're around him, it seems like 10 years.
I think his speeches have been on point. You see, he's.
Mr. President, in honor of the fact that any time spent with you, whether it's 5 seconds or 5 minutes, feels like 10 years have passed. I can feel myself aging just standing here. We want to give you the Decade of the Man Award. That's right. You're please walk away. I'm aging like Benjamin Button.
Determined. He knows the stakes, right? The stakes are high. We are either going to succumb to the Biden regime and become a communist nation, or
or I have an aneurysm? What? I don't understand. What communism? What are you talking about? Honest to God. Like, they're not even socialist. What are you talking about communism? I mean, I appreciate that that's the fear monger at this point, but none of this is, yeah. Do they think full employment is communism? Is that what they think it is?
Or we will reelect that man and make this country safe, prosperous, and free again. I know that's what I want. I know that's what so many Americans.
Excuse me, I'm trying to get through here. I've got to place some of these fantastic salads on more.
We all have to do our.
Dude, why would you walk? But why would you do that? Where are you going? Or better yet, why are they standing where they're standing? I guess this is they probably tilt up, and that's towards the stage where he gave his speech.
To help Donald Trump vote and make sure everyone in our communities gets out to do so too.
This is a courageous thing you're doing. Is it something that you just obviously you just believe in?
Courageous? She works for a PAC. What do you mean courageous? She's not dragging somebody in a wheelchair up Kilimanjaro to help them, like the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The fuck?
And that's why you're doing it.
Of course, 100%.
That's right. I view myself as the warrior.
I have never believed more strongly that Donald Trump will win this New Hampshire primary for the third time and be reelected for another 4 years.
Yes. I've never believed more strongly that he'll win the New Hampshire primary for the third time. I didn't believe that the second time he won, or even the first time he won. I was like, I don't think, is this the third time? God, it does feel like a decade.
A 3-time winning president.
Yes, exactly.
That's so true, except for the big, well, obviously, when he was a huge loser in the general election, and he will be again. But besides that.
Exactly right.
Carolyn Levitt, thank you so much for joining us here on RSBN.
Thank you.
That was Carolyn Levitt, a conservative rock star here in Concord, New Hampshire.
Yeah, totally. Rock star. I felt I grew as a person. Didn't you? So let's recap if we can real quick, and then we'll jump to something I don't have time to do this whole thing, obviously, but it's worth doing just because it's stupid. But I want to bring in I got to scroll this down. Our chat room. Hi, chat room. Like, subscribe, become a part of our family here at Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Join in, gather round, will you? And if you think about becoming a Patreon subscriber, tomorrow night I'm doing a show at Flappers, and I live stream it from Flappers to all of our Patreon people. And then, of course, if I do a show live and you're a Patreon subscriber and you're nearby, you get to come in with you and a guest at any level, no matter how much you want to help, like at the lowest level or the highest level. You just help out if you can help out. And if you can't, don't worry about it. But always also try and appreciate the people who do. So thank you to our subscribers on YouTube and Twitch, especially twitch.tv/HalSparks. I've got 2,700 people in my chat overall right now. 2,100 just in YouTube. Thanks, Kelly. Can you come in for a one-time deal? No, it doesn't work that way, Stagmus. That's the whole point. It's for regular subscribers. But I do post it later. You just don't get to watch it live. And since I don't prep, you're seeing you're seeing a brand new set. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. That's the point of these Flappers shows is I don't prepare for them. It's just how I write. Hal Sparks text. Oh, there was a text? Did you send me a text? Did you text me? Oh my gosh. Wiffle Poof, thank you so much for the PayPal. Thank you so much. If you're broke like me, out. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're broke, Mary, just enjoy the show as it is and thank other people who make it possible, because it's because of you guys. Thank you, Wiffle Poof. I appreciate that. That's really sweet. And Venmo is a great way to help. By the way, if you're helping us get our new computer, that's the way we do it. Does Flappers pay you now? No. They have basically they cover the cost of my flight in and out. Oh, Stagmus, absolutely. So yes, Flappers in Burbank, sunny downtown Burbank. Okay, let me jump back in here real quick before we go out. I just want to see, I'm curious. I know a lot of you are like, look, nobody can explain to me what the Bidens got paid to do against America. I don't know yet. None of them have made the case yet that they've done China a favor right now of any sort. Nobody has been able to point to a single piece of policy that Joe Biden has changed to allegedly benefit the people who allegedly paid him money that they have not shown he's actually been paid. Nobody. Even the firing of the prosecutor. Again, the Obama administration, the entirety of it, all of Congress, the IMF, the EU. Everybody wanted that dude fired because they wanted stability in Ukraine, and that guy would not prosecute corruption. End of story. And then they brought in a guy who did, and that's the guy who went after the head of Burisma who fled the country. So I don't know what they're being paid for, but apparently they're being paid a lot, according to Glenn. And he's got a number. Shock. Biden crime family made this much from foreign sources?
Miranda Divine is on.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where he is. He's on a book tour. He's in a radio station someplace. Doing a show. This is old school Glenn.
Miranda Divine is on with us. She is the author of the book Laptop from Hell. Came out, I think, about a year ago. She's never actually laid eyes on the laptop. She's seen a hard drive named laptop. That's the same. The New York Post columnist, and has been neck deep in this.
In her own ass.
Ooh, I don't want to say in Hunter Biden, but in Hunter Biden's stories. And she's been...
Wait, head first or feet first? Kind of matters.
Essential in exposing a lot of the things that were on the laptop. She joined...
Yes, if it wasn't for Miranda Divine, most of us wouldn't have seen the picture of him smoking in the bathtub more than 25 times.
Us now. Miranda, are you there?
Good day. Hello. Hi, Glenn. Great to be with you.
Hi. Yeah. So, Miranda.
I don't think it's a good idea to lie right out of the gate.
You had the actual laptop, right?
Yes. Well, the hard drive.
There we go. I mean, all right. The hard drive, not the actual hard drive, the copy of the hard drive. I got a copy of the hard drive from the guy who got a copy of the hard drive. I've got a copy of a copy of the hard drive. I think, yeah, that would be the... Yeah, so I got a copy of the hard drive. That's, I mean, it's like I said, a copy of a copy of a copy. All right.
The hard drive, yes.
Complete replica of the laptop.
Hold on, sorry. So you have the murder weapon. Yes, I've got a copy of the murder weapon. I've got a complete replica of the murder weapon, including a replica of the fingerprints and a replica of the hair fibers, but it's basically the same thing. Shit, I love that. Can we just listen to that again? That's gorgeous.
Okay, so how did, I mean, I have a friend, Peter Schweizer, who is got a team of people, and they're very, very good. I know you're
so good. Here we go. Wait, say that again.
Hard drive, which is...
Okay,
hold on.
Yeah, so Miranda, you had the actual laptop, right?
Yes. Well, the hard drive, which is...
The hard drive, yes.
Complete replica of the laptop.
The complete replica of the laptop. Well, a complete replica of a replica of the replica.
Okay, so how did, I mean, I have a friend, Peter Schweizer, who...
By the way, replica? Okay, first of all, what you want to say is forensic copy, because that means it was a one-to-one, bit-to-bit copy of the hard drive. Now, you can't say that because it isn't true. So, you want to say, I have a forensic copy of the original drive that was copied by Rudy Giuliani from the copy that John Paul McIsaac gave to what is it, John Mackey or whatever his name was, to copy for him. I have a copy of that. That's the truth.
Who is got a team of people, and they're very, very good. I know you're very, very good.
At what?
How did we not see the email that says, I'm sitting here on the couch with my dad?
Because it wasn't an email, it's a WhatsApp message, and it got added later.
And we want our money, China.
Well, the beauty of that, it's actually not an email, it's a WhatsApp message, which is an encrypted app. And none of that appears on the laptop. Is that...
None of that? Wait, what? Excuse me?
Which is an encrypted app. And none of that appears on the laptop. That WhatsApp message was retrieved by the IRS criminal investigators through a subpoena to Apple for Hunter Biden.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, one of the reasons why that led to, that was actually entered in as evidence is because it's not attached to this copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a hard drive, period. And also, Apple didn't provide the WhatsApp stuff and the encrypted stuff unless they subpoenaed it to open his phone. But he gave over a hard drive and a phone to the IRS a couple of years ago. So I think she's talking out of her ass about that as well.
iCloud, the beauty of that is that,
the beauty of that is it might even be admissible, sort of, unlike everything in this fucking copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of the replica of a copy.
The laptop the FBI they authenticated, can you believe it, every single piece on it that it was reliable evidence.
No, they didn't.
And hadn't been tampered with and was real.
Wrong. Not true. Not at all true.
They'd authenticate it by as early as February of 2020, but they refused to give it to the IRS investigators. And, as Gary Shapley, the whistleblower, said in his testimony that was released on Friday, he said, we needed to know, we're looking at how much money Hunter Biden didn't pay in tax. We need to know about that email about 10% for the big guy. We need to know.
All right. So, yeah, that email is from the laptop, or the alleged laptop. And the reason why the IRS, the people that Shapley worked for, did not want to use that, or did not want to have that incorporated into the investigation, is because that is an unverifiable piece of bullshit from the hard drive she's shopping around, and that Mackey shopped around, and that Giuliani had multiple copies of. And if they brought that in, any first-year law student could get it thrown out as fruit of the poison tree. So they stayed away from it because they were trying to convict him on tax evasion.
Who's the big guy? Where'd that money go? Because otherwise we will count that 10% and make Hunter Biden pay tax for it. So,
no, they won't. That business never even happened. You can't tax profits that never occurred from an investment that was never made in a business that was never started. She wrote a fucking book about this.
They asked several times for the Department of Justice, for their prosecutors. They said, we need the laptop, and they were refused. But they managed to get a lot of the material.
Because they didn't, okay, first of all, the laptop itself, they had to buy another laptop to put a copy of to put the original waterlogged hard drive, this is the theory, into a new one, and then try to retrieve data from it in a similar way that John Paul McIsaac retrieved it from the one that was dropped off at his place. The problem with that is twofold. One is, and it depends on which story you believe, because according to the testimony she's talking about, Hunter Biden dropped off a hard drive that said, anything you can say, he said, these laptops are fucked. And he goes, bring me a hard drive and I'll salvage your data off of it. And then he was like, you can pulp them. And with the idea being that after you're done copying it to this hard drive, you blank the hard drive and throw it out, because why would you keep my shit? So the idea is he drops off this hard drive. John Paul McIsaac copies his copy onto that, and then Hunter Biden takes this hard drive and leaves. That's part of the story that this guy makes. And the problem is that from that point on, Hunter Biden's attorney can make the case that he was made aware of the files that were on this, that were salvaged, were copied to this, but they were not the property of him going forward. And that old hard drive and all of its stuff should have been thrown away. You might have had, you could have claimed the physical hardware, but you didn't have a right to the information because you had basically said, I made a copy, here's the copy. He saved a copy for himself. That's what John Paul McIsaac is doing. He's been walking around with this other copy that he gave to Mackey, and they copied and copied and copied and copied. And then it's got 3 times as much material on it as it did when it left his shop. But the issue that they have, and the issue she has, and the issue that the FBI had at the time, allegedly, was that Hunter Biden had supposedly dropped off this hard drive and said, copy it onto here. And he did. But he also made his own copy, which is illegal. And when you give that, because of chain of evidence issues, you give that copy that you don't have a right to somebody else, that's a violation of his Fourth Amendment rights. And so all of it gets thrown out, all of it. And if it touches your case, and you go, yeah, we found out about this from that hard drive, then everything that came from it, fruit of the poison tree, gets thrown out. That's why they were avoiding it. That's why. That at least alleged towards this guy who was testifying.
It's on the laptop through this subpoena for Hunter Biden's iCloud. So that's another way that you can.
Yeah, and by the way, the iCloud thing, because he was already participating, this is why the WhatsApp stuff and all that can be incorporated in, and why that evidence and why he's pled guilty to stuff related to that, and why he's paying a fine and all that shit. That's because it came from him handing over a real laptop of his own, for real, and his attorneys working with the IRS to deal with this issue. And then they shake a felony in your face, and then you plead to a misdemeanor so you don't have to go through the whole trial. And arguably, the IRS and the FBI guys that might have been involved in this all knew that if they went to trial on this, they actually went to trial on this, they could go, where'd you get, what was the predicate for going this? You know how Trump's always trying to get everything about him thrown out because of the Steele dossier and that they shouldn't have even looked, right? That whole story. That is absolutely true when it comes to this hard drive. That's the fascinating part. So, and again, it's the son of a guy who was at that time former vice president, wasn't going to run again. Yeah, it's a fucking yawn.
Prove that what's in the laptop is legitimate because there's
no. Some of the stuff is real, some of it's fake. It's all mixed together. Some stuff is just added to, like emails with lines added to them. And there's like 80% of it's real, and then you can add lines to it because there's no metadata and you can't check it against it, and you can't force somebody to verify an email on their end unless you have a smoking gun that it's legit from the start. So you have to be able to show the metadata in court that says, we know this email is totally true and was never modified. You have to be able to come in and do that in court to force somebody to give up other stuff. They can't. Because it's a copy of a copy of a copy. That's the problem. And that's why this will always be blabbity blah. This is, I would argue, the right-wing version of the left, the far left anyways, blaming the CIA for everything. Because the CIA can't defend themselves. They can't come forward and go, that's not true. We didn't do that. We did this. They've got to keep everything quiet. So you can always make up. You can just spackle any holes in your knowledge with the worst conspiracies in the world because they can't defend themselves. They're the perfect foil for this.
a lot of overlap. But of course, they got a lot of things.
There's a lot of overlap. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. There's some emails that are real, and there's some pictures that are real, and there's some emails that are fake, and some videos that are fake.
Things that aren't on the laptop that were deleted or never preserved.
What?
Things that aren't on the laptop is legit.
Say that. Listen to this.
Because there's a lot of overlap. But of course, they got a lot of things that aren't on the laptop that were deleted or never preserved.
How much money do you think, and do we have a reasonable idea of how much money the Bidens have made through?
They check their taxes and their property
through these kinds of things.
$1 billion. I'm going to bet. What do you think? Chat room. Billion one. What do you think? Billion two. What do you think?
Well, look, we have for the first time a definitive number that the second IRS whistleblower, who was the lead case agent on that 5-year investigation into Hunter Biden's taxes, he's given in his testimony a figure. Now, I think it was $18.2 million.
$18.2 million that they got, and that's the entire Biden family, including all projects that, like all the money Hunter made, all the money that James Biden made, and I guess, what are we going? Foreign book sales for Joe? 18. Okay, so the idea is that it isn't so much that the Bidens sold out America, it's that they're a cheap date. Meanwhile, how much did Jared Kushner get and Ivanka? How much? Trump got $17 million in one fucking night for killing TPP.
I could be out by, a few $100,000.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, really. It's all criminal funds.
But it's in that ballpark, say $18 to $19 million. That
okay, $18 to $19 million. I said it. Now what?
Came in from foreign sources.
Okay, the money came in from foreign sources. Okay, so there's the United States, and then there's the rest of the world. And this money, if I'm following, came to them from work they did or businesses they had that did business in the rest of the world. Elsewhere. Okay. All right. And in exchange for that $18 million, they did what exactly?
Into the sort of Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, Devin Archer, his various...
the investment company that he had that invested hundreds of millions of dollars with his partners. So he did that, and he brought in about $18 million total. He did he? I'm sorry, but on a global scale, chicken shit money.
Partners in crime or, in business.
Right. Yeah, crime, business. What's the difference?
And then out of that, there was about 9 million, a little over 9 million, went directly to Hunter Biden. So he got about half the cut.
Right, because he did all the big money work. And then James got the rest.
Whether or not 10% went to the big guy, a.k.a. Joe Biden, has yet to be determined.
Has yet? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a done deal because Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to impeach him. Apparently, it's been whether the 10% of the 9 million, so $900,000. $900,000. Joe Biden got $900,000 for what? To do what? Revive the Quad, start the AUKUS agreement, defend Taiwan, set China's technological sector back a decade. What was the $900,000 for? Because Trump got $17 million in his Chinese bank account, and he took $15 million out of it in a single night after he shut down TPP. 900,000. That is all about you think Joe Biden sold out the country for $900,000. That's the number.
We know that Hunter got $9 million and he underpaid his taxes over that period significantly. Now, we know that Kevin Morris, Hunter Biden's sugar brother from California, the Hollywood lawyer, he befriended Hunter Biden and was terribly generous to him, paid back $2.8 million in unpaid taxes last year.
Terribly.
Yes, in exchange for obviously Biden favoring California in the well, would they put that? It was in the infrastructure bill. They did a thing that obviously California benefited from on the diesel, that all went to that guy's neighborhood. It had to be, it's got to be something. All right. Yeah, she said sugar brother.
Not to be confused with Sugar Bear. Now, don't worry about it. Everybody knows that Sugar Bear is here. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mary. Speaking of Sugar Bear, thank you for being such a sugar bear.
Terribly generous.
Yeah, that's one nice. Oh, it's charity. I was just doing it for a friend. I mean, I write, tens of millions of dollars of checks for friends.
Well, the guy, I think because of his investments, had made a lot more money working with Hunter. Legit had made more money, and so it's just like, yeah, it's a loan.
And I never expect to have them.
By the way, again, are they this outraged about Trump? I wouldn't mind. I mean, again, Hunter Biden should face whatever he faces because that's the shit. But wouldn't you say that the Trump case in New York has more legs now due to this?
Do anything for me. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be talking.
Can't get enough of that sugar, Chris. The Sugar Bear.
From the press secretary, their podium there at the White House, talking some business later to the press. I mean, it wasn't the goodness of his heart. Is anybody investigating him?
Well, look, so the tax...
Did he do it under the table? Did he hide it? Did he build a shell company and funnel the money to Hunter? No. Why would you investigate something for someone for something they do that's overt when you're not even looking at Trump's fucking tax shenanigans? Oh, God.
Investigators did not treat that money that Kevin Morris paid as a gift, which would itself have been taxable for Hunter Biden because Hunter Biden said it was a loan. So presumably Hunter Biden
has to pay it back.
Biden will repay Kevin Morris with the money he gets from the work he does now as an artist.
So, Miranda, I mean, what's so crazy, he says it's a loan. That's what he said about the money he was paid from Burisma when they put the money into Rosemont Seneca. he didn't pay any taxes because he said it was a loan and then just never paid it back.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
and
again, then why don't you guys have a problem with Donald Trump? This is the same shit. Donald Trump told the IRS his buildings weren't worth shit. And he told the banks they were worth twice what they're actually worth. One is criminal fraud. The other one is criminal tax evasion. Why don't you guys have a problem with that? Because again, I have not heard a single person come up and go, Hunter Biden they should just let him slide on this. No, if you get busted for that kind of shenanigans, who gives a shit? Pay it off. None of my goddamn business.
And it's just what these IRS guys who've been doing this for, a quarter of a century between them, they say this is textbook tax evasion.
Right. But the biggest question from the minority counsel when they were asking them during this, because I read the entire transcript of this dude's thing, was, is it normal to spend this much time on this little money? Because we're talking about $2.6 to $3 million in unpaid taxes over a series of years, and they had already remedied half of it. So how many guys did you have on this during the Trump years, from like 2017 on? How many guys worked on this? And they said we had about 17 people working about 2,000 hours each on all this. They had cases worth billions in hidden tax revenue that they didn't have that many agents on. Wouldn't it seem like the Trump administration was finding friendlies and trying to put pressure on people to be able to go after Hunter Biden and go after Hillary Clinton and others as revenge, and also to head off any challenges he might actually have? Because ultimately, Joe Biden was the one person he feared running against, and rightly so.
You get paid, you put it into another company, you say it's a loan. You can't give.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Yes, he should pay taxes on that. And
yourself a loan that you never.
Right. Again, you didn't promise us tax evasion that Hunter Biden nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. What I was promised, what it says on the tin, Miranda, is that you are promising a quid pro quo scheme with foreign nationals paying Biden to sell out America. That's a high fucking bar.
Pay back. So they obviously wanted to charge that as tax evasion, but that was in 2014, 2015, when Hunter Biden was living in Washington, D.C. And
no, that was after 2014, 2015. His problem was that they were dragging their feet on that stuff, and that they should have acted faster because the statute of limitations ran out on some of it. That wasn't ultimately what he. Never mind.
Turns out David Weiss, the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, who was given all of the Hunter Biden investigations that came in from all around the country for some reason by Bill Barr, they all went to Delaware, and
because his company is registered there. Because Delaware is where most companies in the United States are incorporated. The most number of companies incorporated in any state in America is Delaware. That's why. And the Delaware IRS agents and the Delaware AG are experts in this kind of shit, in corporate fraud and tax evasion, especially using foreign shell companies because of the tax structure of Delaware. Dummy.
David Weiss, just asked nicely of the Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney who'd been appointed by Joe Biden, could I please lay some charges against Hunter Biden in your jurisdiction?
Could I please?
And surprise, surprise, U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C., Matthew Graves, said, no, you can't.
Because none of the business happened here. He doesn't live here. He doesn't have a business license here. He didn't conduct the business here. Even the stuff that you're accusing him from with my dad sitting right here WhatsApp message happened in Delaware. No. You're just trying to put it in D.C. so that you can taint his dad with stuff that has nothing to do with his dad. if you have a case against his dad for the time he lived in the White House or in the vice president's quarters, then bring it or fuck off.
Same thing happened in the Central District of California for the later years, where Hunter Biden had been living in Malibu and Venice Beach. And no, you can't do it, another Biden appointee. And David Weiss just meekly accepts that, and then the statute of limitations.
Because they're not registered as a business in California. And it's a federal tax thing, not state taxes.
Run out on those, which were the biggest part of the charges, the most serious.
Yes, the biggest part of the tax evasion charges. Which, again, I was promised a quid pro quo. Who in the chat room, are you guys, does that bother anybody? Does that get to anybody about this? Were we not all promised by these assholes for years now? We were promised a quid pro quo. We were promised evidence. Not even, by the way, we got Romania, we got Ukraine, and we got China, a whole other country, which turned out to also be Ukraine and was also the original story. At this point, yeah, PPP loans, anybody? Yeah, is anybody going after Marjorie Taylor Greene for that shit? Honest to God. Whoops, I missed somebody. I don't believe it either. It's so weird. Thank you for the super chat, Dennis. I look at it as a bucket of piss to drown rats in. Well, yes, I could see that. Trump paid $750 last year. Exactly. Just the lameness of it. Christ almighty. Anybody, like, is there, where is the selling out America part? Just tell me. Point it out. And I don't want to hear this fucking prosecutor in Ukraine horse shit when the guy was a Russian sock puppet and everybody wanted him gone in the entire administration. My question is, what does this have to do with the kidney? Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah. So I just, can somebody ask them that? Can any of these guys go, what was the payoff? What was the thing? What? I don't understand. What's the sales pitch? Tell me. You got it. Elevator pitch. It's been years. Give me 2 sentences. They got paid this to do this. And it was a bad thing because this happened. Because I can do that with Trump. George Papadopoulos tells the Australian diplomat that the Russians have reached out to say they would like to help him get elected. Meanwhile, Trump runs interference every time Putin says something. I don't know why it would be Russia. He has Lavrov and those guys in the Oval Office for private meetings with no one present. We know he wanted a Trump Tower Moscow up to a certain point. The only thing that fucked it into a cocked hat ultimately was the fact that it was discovered, and arguably COVID. Had COVID not happened, we'd already be seeing them break ground on Trump Tower Moscow before all this shit blew up. He also hamstrung Ukraine so that he was going to deny them weapons, hold them back, even though the Congress had written them off. He tried to hold them back as long as possible, delaying the shipments so that they could go in the spring once he won re-election, and then he didn't win, so they had to punt it a year because it's about weather. Still didn't help, but he was there to set it up. He was undermining NATO on their behalf. He was running interference for them. He was creating unity amongst North Korea and the Saudis and Russia, who are all palling around with each other while undercutting our allies and his attempt to fuck the euro. He was also fighting to give us a negative interest rate to crash the dollar, which in some ways you could think he thought it was a good idea, but on the other end, he maybe thought he was going to buy the dip on U.S. currency with money he got from them. Fuck out of here. It's all kinds of shit. Manafort worked for him for free. Manafort worked with Yanukovych as a sock puppet for Russia. Was responsible for snipers in bell towers shooting people on Euromaidan. And Trump was like, I want that guy. The guy who picks dudes off a Craigslist to gang fuck his wife who was made an invalid in a fucking car accident. That's who Trump picks. Former Epstein buddy Donald Trump picks Paul Manafort, a man whose own daughter's messages speak of a level of monstrosity in that fucker that very little shocks me. That was shocking. Feeding polling data to Russians, being in constant contact, sending Carter Page over on trips to Russia, having him, because he speaks Russian, hang out backstage when Russian agents they just stumble upon being backstage at a Trump rally. That makes sense. That's pretty easy to understand. What part of the CHIPS Act did China give Joe Biden $900,000 to lay his dick on their forehead? Yes, Manafort did that, Cynthia. And again, evangelicals, maggots, explain yourself. Explain working with a guy like that. And don't give me he's the best, because Trump fired him later and then pardoned him after he got busted. Yes, Manafort owed Oleg Deripaska tons of money. Thanks for buying the NFT shirt. Yay. You see constantly Trump running interference, defending Putin at every corner, to the expense of the American people, as they built up their alliance with the Saudis, with the Iranians, with the North Koreans, with the Chinese, all working together, developing that relationship. Now, in some cases, they have a relationship because Trump helped them build it, and Biden is fucking with all of them, so they're kind of like cowering together. But that's very different from helping them line up. Yes, his own daughters, Jonathan saying in the chat room, his own daughters described what Manafort did to their mother. So anybody, even if I give you that they gave him the money, which I fucking well do not do, but if I gave you that, what did they get in exchange? $1, the US dollar being worth $1.15, lowest unemployment rate in 50 fucking years. What did they get? I don't get it. It's not for a lack of looking. I have actually been trying to find something in this because it drives me nuts. It's right up there with the explain adrenochrome to me, QAnons, because everybody you say that takes it looks like shit. I don't know. None of them. Not a one. Manafort has gout. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I don't wish ill on anybody, but
serious for Hunter Biden, and also encompassed Foreign Agent Registration Act violation. So, in other words, foreign.
By the way, all shit that during the Trump years they thought these are no pun intended trumped up charges. They're just attacking his campaign for Flynn working for Turkey
and lobbying. There was evidence of that.
Yeah. Was there now? What did they lobby for? What did they get? Here's the fun part. If they got paid to lobby and they didn't do it, is that a violation of FARA, or are they scamming foreign countries who are full of gullible criminals?
The laptop, and we could never understand why on earth weren't those charges brought. Now we know from the whistleblowers it's because the Department of Justice allowed the statute of limitations to run out because David Weiss said, oh, well, we can't bring charges because these US attorneys who were appointed by Biden won't let us.
It's because the evidence that they had came from a copy of a copy of a copy of a hard drive, and the evidence that they had that they were actually building a case on wasn't related to it. And you couldn't link it together without destroying the evidence you had.
So last October, when Gary Shapley, the IRS whistleblower, and his crack team,
they were on. They had to, because they went undercover with Hunter Biden disguised as crack. I'm sorry.
The SEAL team of the IRS. They are the ones who go.
They're the SEAL team of the IRS. I had no idea they could balance a beach ball on their nose.
He's collected $2.5 billion of taxes on behalf of the American taxpayer from all over the country, all over the world, actually, in his career. So he is the number one. He's the GOAT of IRS investigators.
No, his branch did, not him personally. He works with a bunch of people. You could say that of anybody in that office, and all right.
And he's had this meeting in October with Weiss and said, why on earth did you let the statute of limitations run out? And Weiss says, well, I went to the Department of Justice and I asked if I could be made special counsel so that I could bring charges in those jurisdictions, and they refused me. Well, now Merrick Garland has come out and said that's not true, that the only person who can make Weiss a special counsel is me, and he never asked. And so someone's lying. And that's the Republicans need.
Or Shapley actually said, why didn't you make yourself, why didn't you ask for independent counsel status? Because he goes, well, I did. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I was going to. And then that becomes the conversation.
All the me.
I will tell you, my best guess is they're probably both lying to some degree or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Weiss is lying to Shapley. Shapley's lying in his deposition, and Garland's lying about according to Shapley, who believes everybody is lying.
But let me ask you, I've got about 30 seconds.
That should be enough. Unless you wanted to produce the hard drive.
You have been on this story for years.
And still.
You were at the Post when the laptop was, Russian disinformation, and they.
Yeah, it's still. I'm sorry, the hard drive. Be fair.
Banned the Post from, any social media.
They didn't get banned from any social media. They were off Twitter for like 6 hours, Facebook for about the same amount of time. Their website was never taken down. People could reference it. They just couldn't post it because it was obviously meant to be an October surprise and it was unverifiable. No metadata. Fuck off.
Do you think we're at a turning point, or is this more of the same that's not going to amount to anything or any?
I know. That's my theory. It's gonna be fuck all. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a whole lot of it.
Jail.
I think that the Gary Shapley's testimony and his partner is a game changer because they brought evidence that is separate from the laptop and is not just hearsay or one person's word against Joe Biden's.
Well, yeah, except except for the fact that none of it's actually evidence. If you talk about probably the closest thing they have is Rob Walker's interview with the FBI, where he was on tape, with the idea being that he thought that the time in 2017, Hunter Biden was meeting with some guys to do business. And his dad dropped by, said hi, didn't drink even a glass of water, but glad-handed. And he said to his dad, I'm thinking of doing some business with these guys. And his dad said, oh, it sounds great. And then he fucked off. which, if you'll recall, I don't remember who was president in 2017. I guess more to the point, who was vice president in 2017? Who was no longer in public office? Who was at that point a former vice president, borderline elderly, not planning on running for president at that point that we know of, and certainly not expected to win. So what's your fucking point? Also, and again, what was the quo? What was in exchange? What? Because he said, because his dad was vice president. Like, holy shit, that was a former vice president. And
this is evidence, transcripts of interviews with Hunter Biden's former business partners.
That's what I was talking about. Look at what I say.
Memorialized conversations with 6 witnesses between Gary Shapley and David White and DOJ prosecutors or district attorneys who were obstructing. So I think there is clear evidence of malfeasance by the Department of Justice, involvement of the highest level of the FBI, and there's
also in an unpaid taxes case is the idea, none of which occurred when Joe Biden was vice president or working. And the idea that he was like, you didn't talk with your son about his business? No, I didn't discuss business. I knew my son was in business. He said, this is my partner. Hello, nice to meet you. That's it. But again, in exchange for what? Where's the sweetheart deals that they got? Where's the federal funds that went to Burisma or went to the fucking mayor of Moscow's wife or the Romanian foreign aid that Obama gave Biden free rein to dole out and write checks? Congress writes those checks. What the shit?
2 parts of this story. There's the original corruption story, but I think, as with Watergate, the biggest story is the cover-up. And Gary Shapley...
No. The biggest story with Watergate was not the cover-up. The biggest crime was the cover-up. But the biggest story with Watergate was the fucking fact that Richard Nixon paid some dudes, including G. Gordon Liddy, to break into DNC headquarters. And they were caught, apparently by Forrest Gump. That was rather large. And then the fact that he taped himself, that wasn't even the cover-up. That was him like, I shouldn't have, I don't know what I was thinking, George. Walking around talking to fucking paintings, blaming the Jews for everything. That, honest to God, that had very little to do with the break-in. Dick Nixon just fucking went on a downward spiral.
The numbers should skyrocket downward.
Here I am like an idiot.
It's there, the cover-up, and you can see them now. They are going to try and destroy him, destroy his reputation.
Why? For what? Again, no, they aren't. No one is coming for this dickhead. It's the same thing with John Paul McIsaac. No one cares. Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks her fucking TV is spying on her. I don't want to hear what she has to say. Nobody does. What kind of secrets do people think she has? Are you shitting me? If anybody is spying on Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's other members of the Freedom Caucus because they all think they're living in some sort of redneck spy novel. Grow the fuck up. Nobody cares. This, again, if they went, oh my God, legislation that was filed and signed by Barack Obama after it came from the Senate, because of his time in the Senate and his masterful use of the words that he was able to slip in some extra language into it after it had been voted on and passed that was different from the 17 copies they have filed. But never mind, and doesn't matter because the version that's signed by the president, that's the one that becomes law. Whether it wouldn't, because that version wouldn't have passed the thing and it would still null and Never mind. Anyways, Obama signed it, and in that was like 10% for the big guy written into the infrastructure bill. It was I'm getting a fuck you communist. That's nice. You do realize you're barking up the wrong tree, right? I'm in no way, shape, or form a communist. But good luck with that. I'm sure that word rattling around in your head makes a nice ringing noise that's very comfortable. You gotta, if you're gonna talk to me about, the pinkos, am I right? If you're gonna explain that there was a quid pro quo, I need the fucking quo. In the case of Trump, we have plenty. Him favoring Russia over our own intelligence community, him giving them private information that allegedly led to the death of an Israeli agent, him handing over a base in Syria to the Russians. We built this base and then we pulled out and we were going to leave the Kurds. Remember that whole shit? And then the Russians got to have that base. We basically gave it to them. All right. Remember that shit? All right. That's one of the many areas. Him getting out of certain areas in Africa, that was to benefit Wagner and the Russians specifically. We gave territory to them that we were supposed to be helping to stabilize the government there. And we're like, he's like, fuck it, they're black. And whoop, all that shit. That makes sense. That you could trace that. Okay, that kind of behavior makes sense if you're being paid to do that by the Russians or the Chinese or the Saudis even. What is it? And the fuck you commie guy who was just in the chat room. Go ahead. Tell me what Biden did since he's been in office that benefits Russia, China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, any of the countries that we have these even tacit, even Venezuela at this point. Who is he getting paid by, and what is it turning into that we don't do already? That doesn't count. What is it? What is it? What's the thing? What did we do? How are we benefiting any of these countries right now? Because last I checked, on every policy level, Biden is teabagging all of these motherfuckers. Feel free to tweet me at Hal Sparks or come back and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, Philip Bittner will be joining us live from Ukraine and catching us up on what's going on there. The Ukrainians have claimed 300 kilometers worth of space just in the last 24 hours, it looks like, and they are now encroaching into area that was taken pre-2014 all across the map. That is a huge turning point, and this is not even the full push. And we'll be talking about a bunch of that stuff tomorrow. I may not have an afternoon show tomorrow, depending on my flight to go to LA because I have stand-up. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Slava Ukraine. You guys are wonderful. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I would like to the trolls, honestly, to the big Trump fans who are in here, I want to say thank you for being here. And I want to tell you right now, I don't know if you know this, but there's a secret word that Trump loves. If you ever get a chance to meet him, it's great. I mean, I'm not even close to kidding. He loves it when you say,
here I am like an idiot. Michigan gave us Motown, gave us the Mustang.
Free health care for illegal. Christopher Columbus, when they gaze upon Yosemite. Again, the words are conditions.
I had a beat off. Where's Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yeah. Here I am like an idiot.
Legal.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges. Here I am like an idiot.
Action replays in magnified fortune. in his sock drawer. They said, oh.
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Somebody like that can write good. I don't read, obviously. I don't read, obviously.
I had a beat off.
The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. They don't like the gas. They don't like the gas. I've been involved in the two greatest scams in American history. We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
Action replays in magnified fortune. De-engineering.
I agree. I'm a dope.
De-engineering. I think people saw that loud and clear. I was a private business people.
I felt really good almost after taking it. Here I am like an idiot.
Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
He meant explosive in terms of fire. This isn't the let's read the book school.
We had a wet vaccine. The past wasn't that long ago. I like fighting number two.
Here I am like an idiot.
I like fighting number two.
They don't like the gas.
I like fighting number two.
You can say it's a back door, but I call it a smart door.
I broke their ass.
I had a beat off.
I broke their ass.
Where's Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yeah.